We are Black Horse. We are Wisconsin.
Oh, what a beautiful Friday night for baseball. Miller Park, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The roof is open, and the Cincinnati Reds are in town. It is Game 2 of this 4-game series. The contending Reds and the Milwaukee Brewers. Tom Gorzolani on the mound tonight. He's been very good as a starter. Mike Leake, very underrated this year in the big leagues. He's a 10-game winner. And hi, everybody. We welcome you from Miller Park alongside Bill Schroeder. I'm Brian Anderson. Great to have you with us tonight. We'll see if the Brewers can get back to winning ways after dropping their last 2 ball games, including the opener here yesterday. So Tom Gorzolani gets the ball tonight, and he's been an interesting guy this year. He signed a 2-year deal with the Brewers, mostly to be a reliever, but he has emerged as a very good starting pitcher.
Yeah, he made his first start on June 8th, and Ron Rennick has not been able to get him out of that rotation. Always nice to have a lefty in the starting rotation to neutralize some of those bats. His last start against the Mariners, outstanding, and the Brewers 10-0 win. He walked only a couple of guys, had 7 strikeouts, and he was really never in trouble throughout the night. Only allowed 2 men to reach second base. He was 7 shutout innings, and as a starter this year, kind of a tough luck starter. He's only had 2 bad starts, 5 runs and 4 runs in a couple of back-to-back outings, but he has been very good. Walking 7 guys, he's walked, and 3 of those came in 1 start to go along with 33 strikeouts. He has been outstanding in that starting role.
Yeah, he is the lone lefty in that rotation. Gallardo due back tomorrow, returns from the disabled list. Speaking of injuries, Carlos Gomez injured yesterday, flagging down a Brandon Phillips fly ball. Craig and Augie will have the injury update on Gomez when we continue.
Save big money on all your home improvement needs at Menards. By Miller Lite, it's not just a good time, it's Miller time. And by Toyota, let's go places. Boy, oh boy, Friday nights in August don't get any better than what we have at Miller Park here tonight. The Reds and the Brewers set for Game 2 here on Fox Sports Wisconsin. The Brewers going to be one man short one more time here in this game as Carlos Gomez, a nasty crash against the wall yesterday, sprained his right knee, had an MRI today on that knee. The good news is everything was negative. The bad news is he's very sore, definitely not going to play tonight, but this is how he plays baseball.
I'll tell you what, there's only one way that Carlos Gomez likes to play, and that's 100%. Last night got a great break on the ball, had to make that late adjustment, and it caused him to the injury. But when you talk about Carlos Gomez, you talk about Milwaukee Brewers in center field, you're talking about a gold glove player. He heals quick. Hopefully we'll see him back soon.
All right, we shall find out. The Brewers playing without him here tonight. Do they have enough against the Reds? They won a close game last night. Game 2 is on the way.
Onto the field tonight. 72 beautiful degrees, not a cloud in the sky. Going to be a clear night and a Friday night for baseball that we are looking forward to. The Brewers and the Reds. Dusty Baker has his club in a very good position right now. The Cardinals lost earlier today to the Chicago Cubs. Matter of fact, they were shut out. So Cincinnati right now is tied with the Cardinals for second place in the division, and they are just 2 back of the Pittsburgh Pirates in the National League Central. And Dusty trying to take his Reds to another NL Central Division title. His Piggly Wiggly batting order. Shin Soo Choo leads off. Chris Heisey in the lineup for the first time. He'll play left field. It was Ludwig in there yesterday. Joey Votto hit a big homer yesterday. He's at first. The middle of the order is Phillips, Bruce, and Frazier, with Mesoraco, Cozart, and Leake rounding it out. That's the lineup that will face Tom Gorzalani.
Yeah, making start number 8, appearance number 40. It was June 8th when he made his first start for Milwaukee, and he's been very good in his first 7. A .257 earned run average, but a 2-3 record as a starter. Very good against the Mariners in a 10-0 Brewers win.
And he is a symbol of how good the Brewers starting pitchers have been this month, in the month of August, as we hit the 16th of August. So a couple of weeks of a sample size, and the Brewers have the lowest ERA by the starting pitchers this month at 2.12, and Gorzalani hoping to continue that here tonight. We'll check the Brewers defense behind him. It is brought to you by Menards, and the big change in center field, Rockwood. Logan Schaefer in there for the injured Gomez.
Yeah, Carlos Gomez crashed against the center field fence last night. He's day-to-day, a knee injury. So Logan Schaefer getting an opportunity. Scooter Gennett at second base, and Aramis Ramirez, good to see him in back-to-back starts at third base.
Brewers don't lose a lot, if anything, defensively in center field with Schaefer. He is a very accomplished outfielder. Not the wall crashing version of Carlos Gomez, but a very skilled outfielder in his own right. Mark Wegner will call the balls and strikes. Mike Winters, DJ Rayburn, and Laz Diaz on the bases. And Mike Winters, the crew chief, says let's play ball. And here we go. Shin-Soo Choo leads off. Gorzelani's first pitch is in there for strike one, and off we go tonight. Choo comes in batting .274. A very impressive on base percentage of .411. He and Joey Votto 1 and 2 in the league in that category. Votto leads the league with a .434 on base percentage. And those two were a big part of the Reds' win yesterday. It was a good ball game yesterday. The Reds got a home run from Votto in the 6th to make it 2-1, and that's how it would finish last night. Brewers losing their second straight after dropping the final game of that Rangers series. Kyle Loesch pitched well, only 1 earned run allowed, but unfortunately Loesch wasn't around for the victory. He took the loss yesterday.
And Brewers just can't figure out Tony Cingrani, the left-hander for Cincinnati.
Back up the middle, Segura ranging over and makes it look easy for the first out.
Mechanics for Tom Gorzelani, who does not throw very hard, but he throws a lot of strikes. A very classic delivery, nothing fancy about it, right over the top. And Gorzelani, as a starter, has walked 7 batters. 3 of those came in 1 start, so he's thrown a lot of strikes.
Now Gorzelani, the last time he was on this mound, he was hit in the elbow on a little soft line drive off the bat of Jason Worth, and that's what cost him a start. Essentially, he pitched in just 1 inning in that game. He came out in the 2nd inning, and then he had to skip a start. He wasn't quite ready to go again in San Francisco, and that's why there's a little bit of a gap between his starts from August 2nd to August 10th, and really just that 1 inning between July 27th to August 10th. So all that said, it looks like his rotation has been a little bit disrupted, but he came back in Seattle and pitched very well.
Yeah, and that was the interesting thing about his start. I mean, when you have a control pitcher out on the mound, you're concerned about location, and particularly with off speed, but it was very good against the Mariners.
Chris Heisey back in the 2-hole for the Reds tonight. Cincinnati trying to ease Ryan Ludwig back, as he missed 4 months of the season with a shoulder injury. Had to have shoulder surgery, actually. Ludwig played left field yesterday. Heisey is in there tonight, and he hits in the 2-hole behind Choo and in front of Votto, which is a nice spot to be.
Now you figure you're going to get some strikes, but this is a very patient offense, this Cincinnati Reds club. They don't swing at too many pitches out of the strike zone.
2-2 to Heisey. Jammed him, fouls him back. Keeping an eye on some games tonight. Mentioned that the Cubs shut out the Cardinals today. Jake Arrieta, who was acquired by the Cubs from the Orioles, got the victory today. That was a 2-hit shutout. Pittsburgh is in progress tonight as well, and we'll be keeping tabs on the Pirates, the division leaders. Right back to Gorzelani, a soft liner that he squeezes for out number 2.
Now that one didn't get him in the elbow. Yeah, nice job by Gorzelani getting in on the hands of Heisey. And a very weak line drive, able to handle it easily. He's that cutter, the slider that Heisey tried to get the hands out on, but couldn't.
2 up and 2 down, and Gorzelani will face Joey Votto. Comes in batting .320. Among league leaders in hitting with 18 homers as well, and had a big one last night that proved to be the game winner. Votto is 4th in the league in batting. Chris Johnson of the Braves is the league leader, hitting .337.
Yeah, Votto's numbers down against lefties this year. He's only hitting .275.
I mean, ordinarily he's well into the 300s throughout his career.
Votto 345 against right-handed pitching. Equals out to a 320 batting average.
Most left-handed hitters would take 275 any day, but that's kind of low for Joey Votto.
Yeah, he is the league leader in on-base percentage. And it goes to 3-1. Now tonight in Pittsburgh, the Pirates are out in front of the Diamondbacks 2-1. That game's in the 4th inning. So a full night of baseball tonight. As Votto draws the walk. So Gorzolani issues a 2-out walk, and that'll bring up Brandon Phillips.
Batting for number 4, the second baseman, Brandon Phillips.
Phillips among league leaders in runs batted in. He is second in RBIs. Paul Goldschmidt leads the league with 93. Phillips has 90. Ton of production from the second base position. He's a multi-time Gold Glove Award winner. He's one of the premier defenders in the game. And he brings a lot of punch offensively as well.
And you know that he's up with a lot of runners on base. Chu's always on. Votto's always on base, so very rarely does he come up there with nobody on. That's why he's hitting just about 260 with all those RBIs.
Phillips an all-star for the 3rd time in the last 4 years. Rips out. Oh, what a play by Ramirez from his knees on a hop, and not in time. Francisco tried to get the tag on him. That was close. That was a fantastic play to get it in his glove. And the throw was just up the line enough for Francisco to come off.
Yeah, what a job by Aramis Ramirez. Maybe saving a run. If that ball goes down the line like that, pretty good chance Votto might be able to score. Francisco just a little bit too late with the tag, and maybe next year Ron Renneke might challenge that call.
Yeah, that was a close play over at first base. This would be the good look at it.
And they missed him.
Safe it goes. Yeah, we're going to talk about some of the replay rules, the new rules that were announced yesterday moving forward starting in 2014. Bruce Fleming is going to come on with us, the future Hall of Fame umpire. And we're going to have a chat and get his perspective and get the umpire's perspective of this change, because it does affect 3 parties, basically the ownership, the ball clubs, and that's one. Then you have the umpires and, of course, the players. So all 3 parties have to vote on it for it to move forward.
Not a perfect system, but I think it's a step in the right direction. What it does do is place a lot of pressure and emphasis on the managers, as if they need any more.
It is interesting on close calls like that. Francisco, that swipe tag, and everybody would be waiting to see if he got him or not, whether he wants to challenge or not before the next pitch. And so our pitcher's going to, just looking at the timing of that particular play, in that case, would Gorzolani, feeling like there's an option to maybe challenge it, step back off the mound, wait for a definitive answer? Obviously, when it goes against your team and you're the pitcher, you control the pacing to slow it down.
A lot of question marks. And our manager is going to have the benefit of a monitor to look at the plays, or they're just going to have to, go based on what they saw in live time. There's that 4-seam fastball from Gorzolani, and I guess just off the outside corner.
So the count is 3-1 on Bruce. 2 on, 2 out. And that one is on the outside corner. Jay Bruce has been a tough out for Gorzolani throughout his career. He's hitting .417 against him. 5 hits, 12 at bats, and of those 5 hits, 3 of them home runs. And you see Gorzelani staying away with everything. The payoff pitch, runners go, and Bruce fouls it away.
And staying away is okay as long as it's down. You know, Jay Bruce is very capable of hitting home runs to left field. You get it away, but up could do some damage. He gave him a 3-2 slider that time, and he rolled over on it.
Well, top to bottom, I still think the Reds have the best team in the National League. I think when you put all the pieces together, they have great depth, terrific lineup. They've been to the postseason. They've won divisions before. As Bruce draws the walk. That could change. The Reds really didn't do much moving into the trading time. They feel good about their starting pitchers. Obviously, Johnny Cueto's health is a major concern.
Yeah, but they still have one of the better starting rotations in the National League. Only the Atlanta Braves better. So they've been able to plug that hole pretty well.
Well, they are the reigning division champs, and until someone knocks them off, they have to be considered among the favorites in a very tough National League Central right now. The Pirates are very good. No doubt that they have great talent up and down their lineup. And they've been able to cover, for the most part, the absence of their closer, Jason Grilli, who is expected back this year. Pittsburgh's been on a little bit of a slide lately. Dropped 4 out of 5, and the Cardinals and the Reds have been able to make up some ground. Todd Frazier, a .231 hitter. He's having a down season. Getting a chance to be the everyday third baseman this year. Batting with the bases loaded in the first. And Gorzelani misses inside. It's 2-1.
It kind of reminds you of last night's first inning with Kyle Loesch. Bases loaded. Reds didn't score. And Gorzelani trying to put a 0 on the board in the first inning here with the bases loaded.
Good note on Frazier, hitting .304 with the bases loaded. Reds have won 5 in a row. They've won 8 of their last 9. Went from 7 games back to just 2.5 back in about a week's worth of games. And that's how fast it can happen. So be careful when you start predicting the postseason right now. Who's going to win divisions and who's going to end up in that wild card spot?
The season's going streaks. Bad stretches, good stretches. It's, you know, the teams that have more good stretches than bad are the ones going to get there. And right now Cincinnati's on a roll.
Frazier hits that one hard into left center, and it's down for a base hit. In to score is Votto. Phillips is behind him. And it's going to be a 2 RBI single for Todd Frazier, and the Reds have the early lead tonight.
Well, he got behind, or he got ahead early with a slider down in the strike zone, and Frazier rolled over on it. Then he got behind 2-1. Got back into the count with a slider on 2-2. Another foul ball. And then came in with a fastball down and in. Frazier dropped the head of the bat on it and got his base hit.
So Votto, who walked, and Phillips, who reached on the infield hit, both score. 2-0 Reds on 2 hits in the first. Runners at the corners for Devin Mesoraco. Mesoraco had a couple of hits last night. Baker has him back in the starting lineup. Ryan Hannigan, their everyday catcher, just getting back. He had a wrist injury that had him on the disabled list. It just came off last week.
And they want to make sure that Ryan Hannigan is going to be ready for the stretch run. Although Mesoraco, pretty good defensive catcher, had a good night at the plate last night. And Hannigan is the guy here behind home plate in Cincinnati. He's a good catcher. This all started out with 2 outs and nobody on. A walk to Votto. Then you had that close play with Brandon Phillips. It does. It happens quickly when you have a potent offense like the Reds.
And first inning activity in the bullpen. Donovan Hand getting loose. Probably answers one question. The Brewers have been sitting on a 6-man rotation, awaiting the return of Giovanni Gallardo, which will happen tomorrow. As Gorzolani deals a strike to Mesoraco, and it's 2-1.
And the Brewers a little bit light in the bullpen. They sent down Alfredo Figueroa to make room for Sean Halton. A roster move today.
Carlos Gomez not on the disabled list, listed as day-to-day, but not available either. So in order to make sure that he wasn't even more shorthanded, Renicky getting the position player Halton. Sean's back.
Got a beard.
And full beard. Probably just grew that last night. He's been known to win a few beard growing contests. The 2-2. Down and in. 3 balls, 2 strikes. That'll be a big pitch early in this game. 2 runs are already in, and the 3-2 is fouled away. Pitch count continues to rise for Gorzolani. Now 36 pitches in the first inning.
And really something we haven't seen from Gorzolani, an inning like this. A couple of walks. He's been doing nothing but throw strikes since he's gotten into the starting rotation. Very unusual for him.
We'll do it again. Frazier will take off with the pitch. And a called strike 3. Gorzolani dropped a little changeup in there. Mesoraco is rung up. And Gorzolani minimizes the damage. Throws a lot of pitches, 37 of them. And the Reds get 2 in the first on 2 hits and 2 walks. And down before their first at-bats against Mike Leake. Nori Aoki, he is ready to lead off. The rest of the Piggly Wiggly batting order. Gene Segura and Jonathan Lucroy to follow. And then in the middle of the order, it's Ramirez, Francisco, and Chris Davis. Scooter Gennett back in the starting lineup. He's at second with Logan Schaefer in center and Gorzolani rounding it out.
Well, Mike Leake on the mound, making start number 24. He's having a terrific season. That 286 earned run average. That's good for 9th in the National League. He's 6'1", 180 pounds in his 4th season with Cincinnati, and has a 38-27 career record.
Played his college ball at Arizona State. He was drafted in '09. Same draft that Steven Strasburg went #1 overall. And he never pitched a game in the minor leagues. He was in the big leagues right away. Now in his 4th season in the major leagues. Didn't sign until late of '09, and his debut was the next season, 2010. He did pitch in the fall league. There's a bouncer to short. Cozart, an excellent shortstop, makes a play, and Aoki is retired.
Yeah, let's check out the Menards defense for the Cincinnati Reds.
3rd best defense in the National League. They've committed only 60 errors this year. But last in double plays, 84 double plays. We're very solid up the middle with Cozart and Phillips. And Jay Bruce out in right field, one of the best throwing arms in all of baseball. You just don't run on that guy.
And Bruce showed off that arm yesterday. Brewers are very cautious on the bases with anything hit to right. Segura takes a ball outside. Gene comes in batting .309. Tied for 9th in the league. Segura yesterday was 0 for 4. Brewers had just 6 hits yesterday and 1 run as Segura gets jammed and a bouncer out to Phillips. 2 gone. Mike Leake ranks among National League leaders in earned run average. He's 9th in the league in ERA, a .286 ERA. He's been great on the road. Has a 194 earned run average in road games this year. That is 2nd best in the National League.
Yeah, control pitcher that doesn't walk many, keeps you off balance. Throws 4 different pitches for strikes.
Facing Jonathan Lucroy with 2 away.
This is a guy you got to slow down a little bit out there in the mound. He likes to get it and go. So you step out, disrupt his timing a little bit, disrupt his rhythm. He doesn't mess around.
Check the Powerball home run leaderboard. Gomez leading the club with 18. There you see Lucroy with 16. A career best for him. Career high in RBIs as well as Lucroy rolls over one. Leak, a very good fielding pitcher, takes care of the Brewers quickly in the bottom of the 1st. 1, 2, 3. The crew go in order, and we're headed to the 2nd.
And Sunday, September 1st, all fans at the Brewers-Angels game will receive a bobblehead of Stormin' Gorman Thomas
Compliments of Wisconsin National Guard. Visit Brewers.com for tickets. We're in the 1969 Seattle Pilots uniform. You know, after the Gorman bobblehead, there's only one left.
Excellent job.
10 bobblehead giveaways this year. This is the 9th.
They're nice. Is that the one you had trouble with yesterday?
Yeah. Yes, it is. How about, did I do all right?
As I like to say, you totally redeemed yourself.
I read it a couple of times before the game.
Little rehearsal read, huh?
As it, you know, I've only read it like, what, 30 times on the road?
Probably more than that. Zach Cozart leads off for the Reds as we head to the second inning. Cincinnati getting 2 in the first. Gorzelani hoping for a much cleaner inning in the second. A lot of pitches. 37 of them in the first inning. Coming off his best start as a Brewer in his last time out. Little pop up, foul territory. Easy for Francisco for out number 1. Now the Brewers will have the Reds through the weekend. Giovanni Gallardo is set to come back tomorrow. He'll be returning from the disabled list, so the Brewers are going to have to make a player move tomorrow as well. Gallardo coming back from a hamstring injury. He'll face Matt Latos tomorrow.
And the Brewers are going to see plenty of the best the Central Division has to offer. Cincinnati, St. Louis comes in. Then they go to Cincinnati and then to Pittsburgh.
Mike Leake, a good hitting pitcher. Pushing 200. He's hitting 196 this year. Has 10 hits in 51 at-bats.
55 hits in his first 4 years. Leads all pitchers. So yeah, he handles it pretty well.
And down he goes on strikes. So Gorzelani punches him out. 2 quick ones in the second inning for Gorzelani, and that counts as our head and shoulders whiff.
And elevated the fastball, got it up around the letters, and Gorzelani's second strikeout. He got Mesoraco looking to end the first.
Just looking at the Brewers schedule coming up, and they're running out of games against the Cincinnati Reds. Reds have been a tough opponent for Milwaukee this year. Brewers have won just 3 out of 10, and just one more series after this one remaining. That'll be in Cincinnati, as Rock mentioned on the next road trip. That starts the next road trip, actually. We'll see the Reds 7 days out of the next 10 when it's all said and done. And that's it for the I beg your pardon. So the Brewers will see the Reds in September again here at Miller Park. But the last road trip to Cincinnati coming up. Brewers are in a long stretch of games against the Central Division. Chu, a little half swing, and he checks his swing according to Laz Diaz. This is what is coming up. The 4-gamer with the Reds, followed by a 3-game series with St. Louis. Don't forget Wednesday's game is a matinee. Off day Thursday. And then the road trip starts. 6 games over 7 days.
Off day Thursday, off day Monday before that Pittsburgh series from Milwaukee.
Full count. Chu hits one hard back up the middle, a base hit. So Gorzelani having trouble with 2 outs, finishing off the Reds. He had 2 hits and 2 walks with 2 outs last inning.
Pulling the hands in nicely was Chu on that pitch. Fastball in, pulled the hands in, and got the barrel of the bat on it. And able to line it into center field. Good hitter, Shin-Soo Chu. Stays right on it, lefty versus lefty, and bangs it into center field.
And he is aboard for Heisey. Heisey flew out to center field in the first inning.
True, really the only guy that's going to steal a base on this ball club, but he's 14 out of 22. He's been caught 8 times.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Reds don't run much.
Well, you can understand why. They've got some power hitters throughout their lineup. They play in a home run friendly ballpark as well. Bouncing ball hit sharply, but Jeanette is there, races to the bag just in time to get chewed. So Gorzolani with a 0 in the second. Brewers are coming up.
Twitter poll tonight is on one of the biggest baseball stories happening right now with the presentation of a challenge proposal made by Joe Torre to the owners that will be voted on. So we're asking fans, do you like the replay challenge proposal? Simple yes or no. You can tweet us at FS Wisconsin, and BA, it'll be interesting to get Bruce Fremming's take when he joins us for the umpiring perspective.
He'll be here in the fourth as Ramirez on the first pitch bounces to Cozart. And Aramis Ramirez is retired. And I'm glad Sophia put it that way. It is still a proposal. It is highly publicized. And I'm sure that's all part of the process, too. I think it's good to get some debate about it and then hear what the fans think about it, what people are saying about replay. Everybody understands the importance of replay and moving forward. It's not as easy as football or basketball to implement replay. You have to deal with a lot of other factors when a ball is in play. And just to give you an example, if a ball hits the top corner of the fence, there's replay already involved on boundary balls at this point that you can go check that out. Well, that still hasn't solved the problem necessarily of where to put the runners. As Francisco rips one to the opposite field, got a chance, and it's gone. Juan Francisco. No need to look at that one again.
Well, he got the fastball and he knocked it out of here to the opposite field. I'll tell you, there aren't too many hitters any stronger than Juan Francisco, and that had to feel good for him, his former team. 12 home runs since June 25th. That's the most in the National League, and he has been walloped another one to the opposite field. Fastball down the middle of the plate. And overall number 18 for Francisco, our Powerball home run count. And cuts the Reds lead in half.
His power is impressive, and it is unusual for big league hitters. Just hit a rocket to the opposite field.
Now, getting back to the how the umpires might view the replay, I think they'd be all for it because it takes the pressure of bad calls off of their shoulders and lays it right in the lap of the managers. And that's what I don't like about it. Umpire could say, yeah, I missed it, but he could have challenged it. He could have reversed it.
Right. And the other burden is, and this is what I was just talking about, but where to place runners. I think that has the most debatable discussion, or is the most debatable discussion, because where do you put a runner?
Yep.
Even with the current replay rules that are in place on boundary balls, if it hit the top corner of the fence and you have 3 runners on base and everybody's circling the bases and the ball is called in play, or worse, if the ball is called a home run and everybody stops down,
right,
and then it's ruled that it wasn't a home run, then where do you put the runners? I think it's a huge challenge, and certainly you don't want umpires.
Right.
They're not going to be doing scouting reports. For them, what's the difference with Carlos Gomez versus, say, Jonathan Lucroy running the bases?
Right.
And you can't put it on them to try to figure out where they would have ended up.
Which makes it an imperfect system, and I don't think baseball thinks it's a perfect system. It's a start. And they're going to evaluate it, see what works and what doesn't.
Well, Davis draws the walk. Chris Davis is aboard with 1 out. Takes us to our carsoup.com email the booth question. Jeff wants to know, do you think scoreboards will show close replays now that managers can challenge next season?
Yeah, good point.
Another great question.
Yeah, good question. They can't do it now. They don't want to entice riots in the stands and put any more pressure on the umpires. But no, I don't think they're going to do that. My question is, and I said it before, is that are managers going to have access to replay in their dugout?
Which would obviously give them access to all kinds of video in their dugout, and you could see where that could go wrong, especially how we cover a game.
Right.
We like to get into the pitcher catcher combinations and pitch calling and what have you. So
right. Yep.
That changes a lot.
And that opens up a whole different Pandora's box when you put monitors in the dugout. You allow teams to have an extra coach sitting in the press box to monitor replay. That'll be interesting.
Yeah. And I think all this discussion and all this conversation is healthy, and it's good for the game. And as Sophia mentioned, it is a proposal, and they have their ideas on how they want to do it. As Jeanette lines one to right, that's going to get down for a base hit. So Scooter back to the starting lineup and delivers a single, and the Brewers with 2 hits and a walk in this inning. And maybe something cooking here with 1 out.
And that man can hit. He has a good approach up there. Doesn't try to overswing, and always seems to have a plan up there at the plate. A fastball that gets plenty of the plate that time. Mesoraco was setting up in the corner. Leak missed the spot, and Jeanette hits it hard into right field.
Had a great road trip. He was 10 for 20 at the plate with 3 homers on the road trip. Coming back up, replacing Ricky Weeks, who went on the disabled list with a hamstring injury. And Weeks had successful surgery on that hamstring yesterday, and he is going to be out for the season. About a 4 to 6 month recovery on that hamstring. Logan Schaefer, chance with 2 on and 1 out. Getting to start in center field for the injured Gomez, who was not placed on the disabled list, but is not available tonight. Sprained right knee, and the MRI showed no further damage to Gomez, which is good news.
And he could have heard one of a dozen different things on that crash. Back, shoulder, arm, leg, you name it, hip. Well, he plays hard. Sometimes he pays the price for it.
Two on, 1 away. And a strike on the outside corner. Schaefer has been nursing a balky knee himself. Nothing that would knock him out of the lineup. Just as he put it, something that won't really heal till the end of the season. And he says once he gets going and the game gets warmed up and playing in the game, he doesn't even notice it. It's typically after the game. Pulls that one, and a nice play over there by Votto. Throw to second for 1.
That's a nice play by Votto, who's had a rough year defensively. 12 errors on the year for the former Gold Glover. He won a Gold Glove a couple of years ago at first base. And the fact that he's a right-handed throwing first baseman, the glove side down the line, able to snare it and make a nice throw to second base. And 12 errors this year. When you total up his errors from 2011 and 12, he had 12 combined.
And 11 was his Gold Glove year. Most errors he's ever had in a season, 12. Joey Votto. That was a big out, and it's risky to make that play to second base, bringing in the element of a bad throw or a mishandled baseball, because the pitcher Gorzolani is now batting. So Gorzolani with 2 outs and runners at first and third. Does have a hit this year. He's 1 for 13, but not known for his bat. Maybe he can get a mistake here from Leake. Reds lead 2-1. We're early at Miller Park. Cincinnati with 2 in the first. 2 RBI single by Frazier. Tying run over at third base. And Gorzolani hits it on the barrel, but he was a little late. 1-2 the count.
And a little tardy, but it felt good, I'll bet.
When it feels like nothing, it feels good, right?
Yeah.
It's nothing like that feeling.
Yeah,
Sweet spot.
Make that perfect contact out in front. It's like you never even felt the ball hit the bat.
And down he goes. Leap threw him a breaking ball to strike him out. The inning is over, but Juan Francisco, the big Juan, his 13th home run as a Brewer. 18 overall, and he puts the Brewers on the board.
Operating Officer Rick Schlesinger. And Rick, all weekend long we are celebrating the 40th anniversary of Bernie Brewer. It has become such a fabric, a part of the franchise. What is the team doing to celebrate him all weekend long?
It's hard to believe 40 years, but and I'm a little older than Bernie, but they're not celebrating my birthday. On Sunday, to celebrate Bernie, kids 16 and under eat free. We've got free hot dogs, sodas, and ice cream. Part of also vouchers, so kids get that plus a $10 voucher. All fans in August get a free $10 voucher, so we're having a lot of people come and enjoy free food and beer and beverages and merchandise on behalf of the Brewers.
Just 3 homestands left of the season, 11 games before Labor Day, so kids will be coming back here for school. How have fans responded to the Fans Eat Free promotion?
Well, good example is last night on Thursday night, 36,000 people came, which is one of the best marks in baseball for last night. And obviously we're not quite in the pennant race, but fans here are tremendous, supporting us. And another good crowd tonight, and we'll have, over 100,000 people come to the gates this weekend. So good crowds all weekend.
Also throughout the homestand, Brewers Community Foundation, what events is the team hosting throughout the week?
Sort of it's BCF week, as we like to call it. And a few days ago, all the employees went out to a Northside YMCA and helped build a new playground there. We're auctioning off things for charity. We're having the player wives go out and offer grab bags for $40, a chance to get an autographed item. So we're raising money for good cause. Money for BCF goes throughout the state of Wisconsin to help families and kids.
Rick, thanks so much for your time. BA, plenty of action going on here at Miller Park over the next homestand.
Yeah, they've really done a great job, Rick and his team in the business operations, as Gorzolani strikes out Joey Votto to start the 3rd inning. The Rockets, just a great atmosphere here. Reds are in town. The Reds are certainly in a pennant race. The Brewers are not. And you come to this ballpark and there is energy. I was talking to a few of the players about that today, and talking about how they come here and this just feels like such a great setting. Not just the retractable roof that gives you perfect conditions, but the way the weather is right now. And it's a fun time at Miller Park.
And it's amazing, we go around the league with play in ballparks where teams are in contention, and people just aren't showing up. There's kind of a laissez-faire attitude in the seats, but that's one of the reasons why we love coming home. Obviously, you get back to home and see your family, but coming here to Miller Park, everything this ballpark has to offer, in particular the fans, always enthusiastic. They understand what's going on with the ball club right now. They still come out and they root them on, and these players appreciate it.
Still a great place to be, huh? Especially on a Friday night. Brandon Phillips, who reached on an infield hit, and that was close to turning into a very good play and an out by Aramis Ramirez. Phillips worked around the tag of Francisco that kept the inning alive, and then the Reds would score a couple of runs. In the air to right center, Schaefer closes. Aoki calls him off, and he'll have it for the out. Votto and Phillips retire, 2 gone in the 3rd. Well, the day is almost here. Fox Sports 1 will be here tomorrow and will be available on all major TV providers. Go to foxsports1.com to find out what channel Fox Sports 1 will be on in your area. Looking forward to the launch of the new network. 5 a.m. Fox Sports 1 will be off and running. Little tapper. Gorzolani will make the play. Bruce is out. And a nice tidy 1-2-3 inning for Tom Gorzolani. Wisconsin is presented by Piggly Wiggly, the official supermarket of Fox Sports Wisconsin. By Ho Chunk Gaming Wisconsin, your ticket to more. And by Marshfield Clinic. Don't just live, shine. Good crowd filing through the concourses here at Miller Park. The Fox Sports 1 logo. And Mike Leake back to work here as we head to the third inning. Nori Aoki on the first pitch. And for the second time bounces out to Zach Cozart. Brewers got a run in the second. A Francisco homer to the opposite field. His 18th of the year.
Every output and play on the ground for the Brewers. So Mike Leake using that two-seam fastball, that sinker that's been so good for him. And that's a particularly good pitch to throw when you play at Great American Ballpark, the way that ball flies. Same here at Miller Park.
6 ground ball outs, 1 strikeout for Leake. Gene Segura takes a ball. Segura bounced out to second base in the first inning. And a curveball fooled him. Shallow center field, and that ball is going to be caught. Oh no, it's dropped. Phillips had it for a moment. Look at Segura. He's on his way to third, and the throw is late. Wow, Gene Segura.
Boy, what hustle, huh? How many guys are going to be running that hard on a pop-up? Well, I'm not sure what Chu is doing out in center field. That's his ball all the way. Brandon Phillips saying he had it long enough, but dropped it as he was taking it out of his glove. But I'm not sure he's going to be able to sell that to Tim Timmons. He said he had it, and then when he's trying to take it out of his glove to throw it into the infield, he dropped it. But you want to play like that, you have to show the umpire that you have the baseball. And Phillips did not do that. No, he never did have that. I mean, he kind of trapped it against his body, it looked like. And then it dropped. That'll be a base hit. Look at Segura. Well, you love the way that kid plays this game. How many guys are going to be on third base on that? Well, some guys are barely making the first.
It's going to be a triple for Segura. How about that? That was almost a brilliant catch by Phillips, the Gold Glover. Instead, it turns into an electrifying triple for Gene Segura.
A triple to the second baseman.
Right. So the infield is in now with 1 away, and Lucroy back up the middle. Just like that, we're all tied up.
Yeah, Leake got behind the count, had to come into Lucroy, and he does what he does so well. Hit it right back through the middle. Brandon Phillips still stating his case, but the replay that we saw showed he did not have it. Tie game courtesy of good hustle by Gene Segura.
This will be the definitive look at it, as remember, this is,
you can't see where the baseball is.
Super slow motion, and comes out of his glove.
You can see why Phillips is trying to state his case, but in no way he controlled that baseball.
Nope. And a good call out there.
But a good effort by Phillips just to get there. That's Chu's ball in center.
That would certainly be one you could challenge. Bruce Fremming's coming on with us next inning, and we'll continue our conversation about the proposal that is on the table for expanded replay and the challenge system. But that would certainly be one that you'd have to wait on before you could make a decision if you chose to challenge it.
Well, the rule book states, when you look at the rule book and it states what an out is on a fly ball, you catch it, you have to take it out of your glove, and back in the old days had to show it to the umpire. Phillips would not have been able to do that. You don't have to do that anymore, of course. You catch it, they call you out without taking it out of your glove, but never really was in control of that baseball.
So 1 out, runner at first for Ramirez, and a 3-0 pitch is in there for a strike. Brewers have tied it after the Reds score 2 in the first. 3-1. Ramirez into center field. That's going to fall. Lucroy thinking about third. He's on his way. No, he'll hold up. And now has to hustle to get back.
Well, we saw Lucroy do that yesterday, rounding first, but that ball out to Jay Bruce. Decided to stay at first last night and didn't want to chance it with 1 out. Didn't want to make another out at third base. Brewers had an issue with that in Texas. So Ramirez able to dump one into center field and keep the inning going.
Chu has a very strong arm, much like Leonis Martin in Texas, who threw out 2 runners at third. He got Gomez and Segura at third base in consecutive games. Chu throws it well. He's a former right fielder. So Ramirez with his first hit since returning from the DL, and that's going to bring up Juan Francisco now. 2 on, 1 away. Lucroy tied it with a single. Francisco trying to put the Brewers on top. Francisco got a fastball in the second inning that he hit out. Hit a line drive rope off the wall of the TGI Fridays out there, over the fence and off the back wall. One ball, 2 strikes. Francisco came up with the Reds. He thought he was going to be the everyday third baseman for a while, showing that great power, and the heir apparent to Scott Rowland. Todd Frazier ended up staking claim to that job last season. Reds traded Francisco before the season for J.J. Hoover. They traded him to the Braves. At that time, the Braves needed some insurance at third base with Chipper Jones in his final year and unable to play every day. And that's how the Brewers got him this year, as Chris Johnson emerged as an everyday option at third base, the guy who is leading the league in hitting right now. Francisco became expendable, traded to the Brewers. Nice play in the dugout. Who was that? Martin Maldonado on his birthday has a souvenir.
The only guy with a glove on his hand. Right after hitting a first pitch fastball out of the ballpark his last time up, Mike Leake has not thrown him a fastball in this at bat.
And you can't blame him. Do it again. Another 1-2 offering. 2 men aboard. Francisco to the opposite field again. Heisey is back, and he's got it. Lucroy is tagging, and Lucroy will make it to third. So first and third. Francisco is out. He just missed it. Now the Brewers Community Foundation annual week of Fun for a Cause begins when this homestand started through the 21st. A variety of fundraisers, as Rich Schlesinger mentioned. Photograph Alley, which allows fans to take pictures with a number of outstanding Brewers alumni. BCF Carnival Day, a Bobble Bonanza, player's jersey, to name just a few. The week also includes the Brewers' Wives Mystery Grab Bag on Saturday, August 17th. That's tomorrow. So fans can take advantage. BCF staff on the field, near guest relations, and online by visiting brewers.com/BCF week. There's a line drive left center. Davis sends one to the gap. Lucroy scores. Ramirez around third. He's going to be waved home. Here comes the throw. No throw. And Ramirez is in. And the Brewers have the lead as Chris Davis continues to hit.
He's looking good at the plate, and a little bit of a bobble out there in left center. Convince Ed Cedar to send Aramis Ramirez, although he's not running all that well. And if they would have played off the wall cleanly, they would not have been able to send him. But Ramirez going from first to home plate on the double by Chris Davis. Well, he's staying back nicely. There's a curveball, stays back on it, and rips it into the left center field gap. That spiked curveball, we saw some of those pitches in Texas. Actually, guy out of the bullpen last night. LeCure had a spiked curveball. They call it a knuckle curve. Now watch the misplay. We can see it out there in left center. A little bit of a bobble out there, and Ed Cedar saying, "Come on, Aramis, you can do it."
I thought the Reds had a play on Ramirez, even with the poor exchange on the cutoff. Kozar has a great arm, but I think he just assumed that there's no chance to get a runner at first, and Ramirez is thankful for that, carrying around that giant piano. Puffin and puffin.
Feels good for Aramis to get on base.
Yeah, his first hit, and he scores 2 RBIs, and a double for Davis gives the Brewers a 4-2 lead. Davis really making the most of his second round in the big leagues, as is Scooter Gennett, and he takes one outside. Davis and Gennett were the 2 big stories on the road trip. Both called up from the minor leagues. Both delivering big hits and home runs.
Yeah, good patience at the plate for Gennett. You got Logan Schaefer on deck. Well, Scooter's seeing it pretty well right now, making him throw strikes.
That's Schaefer on deck. 3 runs are in on 4 hits. 2 outs in the inning. And that's ball 4. So the inning continues. And the second walk issued by Leake will get it to Schaefer, the 8th batter of the inning.
Not often you see Mike Leake struggle like this. One of his rougher starts this year.
Starting to feel a lot like his game against the Cardinals 2 starts ago on August 4th, where he gave up 7 earned runs in 5 innings. But this is a guy who is 9th in the league in earned run average. He's had very few poor starts this season. He's given up 4, and we are early, only in the 3rd inning. Schaefer reached on a fielder's choice on a fine play by Votto back in the 2nd. '25-year-old Mike Leake. And he and Mesoraco not connecting on the signals. Got Davis at second. He runs well. Gennett with good speed at first.
You got Gorzolani on deck. How aggressive is Mike Leake going to be to Logan Schaefer here? You can hit his pitch. If you walk him, you load the bases and go after Gorzolani. No activity in the Brewers bullpen. A little early for that.
One and 2 on Schaefer. Logan had a homecoming of sorts out in Northern California. Had a lot of friends and family in San Francisco. Figures to see a lot of playing time the rest of the year. Logan Ondrusek is loosening for the Reds. 2 outs and a 1-2 count on Schaefer. Out to Brandon Phillips, who will take care of Schaefer to end the inning. But the Brewers bring 8 to the plate and score 3 runs on 4 hits. Gene Segura tallying off Aramis Ramirez after he scored from first. Chris Davis, and they have the lead now 4-2 as we head to the top of the 4th. No missed calls as of yet, I don't think, and that's a good thing because legendary umpire and future Hall of Famer Bruce Fremming joins us. Great to have you with us. Always fun to see you. We see you every day, but we don't always get a chance to put you on television.
It's great to be with you guys, and think about it, we got the 3 Bs in the booth. It's 4.
And we've all been called a lot worse, right?
I certainly have.
Bruce finished his career right here in Milwaukee. Of course, he's from here, and his last season as an umpire in 07, a very touching moment here at Miller Park. But that's not why we brought him here. He's a frequent guest on our post game as Frazier goes deep to left, and that one's not coming back. So Todd Frazier, who drove in the 2 runs in the first inning, gives the Reds their 3rd run on his 2nd hit, and it's 4-3, and a no doubter there from the Reds' 3rd baseman.
Yeah, it looked like he got a breaking pitch. It was down and just golfed it. And you see it, a slider grip right down the middle of the plate, and Frazier with a nice easy swing. What do those things sound like when you're umpiring? You hear contact like that, Bruce?
Yeah, you have an idea sometimes. But other times they crush it and it doesn't get out. So it's I think a lot depends on the weather. Yep. You're in a warm climate now, and I think the ball jumps a little better.
Now you're one of the supervisors for Major League Baseball for the umpires. You go down there and talk to the guys. The umpire's perspective on the news on expanded replay coming into vogue next year.
Well, it's in the initial stages, and I think but ground ball to
nice call, Bruce.
Ground ball to 3rd, and we got him at 1st.
No, carry on.
And I think the committee that Bud put together with the experience of John Scherholz and Joe Torre and Tony La Russa, along with Bud's input and other people, obviously, I think they're on the right track to when there's a missed call, they're going to take care of it. I don't know how they're going to do it. Both associations the players and the Umpires Association and the owners have to agree on the format of what's coming out. And right now, that's what it is. It's a format. Nothing's been decided.
Do the umpires do they embrace this? Do they feel like they're being looked over their shoulder, or kind of what is their opinion on all this that's going on?
Well, the opinion is the technology is there, and you can't get away from the technology, and it gets better every year. And when something is clearly missed, you should be able to rectify it. And they gave examples today and in different newspapers and whatever about missed plays. When you got really a one that stands out, you should be able to rectify it. And I think that's where Bud's heading. And I think they've done an excellent job. I don't think they jumped in the water too quick. I think this has been on the shelf for a long time, and it's coming. I mean, you're not going to stop the technology.
Right.
5 years from now, it'll be better than it is now.
That's a very diplomatic response, but what do they really think?
No, I'm going to tell you, the umpires have, for the most part, the umpires have embraced the fact that they want to get the play right, and sometimes you get in a bad position or you're quick or whatever, and you miss a call that's a big call. And I think that in this situation, I just think baseball, the Players Association, and the umpires will work it out.
Well, Gorzolani strikes out Mike Leake. We're going to continue our conversation with Bruce Friming. A lot to discuss. We'll throw some scenarios at him, see how he responds. To the Milwaukee half of the fourth inning, Bruce Friming is joining us, future Hall of Fame umpire. Always enjoy spending time with Bruce, and we've been talking about this new proposal that is in place. Baseball is moving towards more replay, and it is on the table now, and how they're going to implement that is still a little bit unclear, but we wanted to get Bruce's opinion from an umpire's perspective, and the umpires union, as you mentioned, still has to vote on this subject matter as well. But what does it come down to for an umpire at this point moving forward? And do you think it's going to free up the umpires to continue to be confident in their calls when they could have a call overturned right there in front of everybody in that instant?
Well, for the most part, the tracking that has gone on in the last, actually they've been tracking the plays the last 12 years, and when I tell you that the base calls are over 99%. I mean, that's a terrific percentage. And yes, there's obvious calls that are missed, but they're rare, and it runs in cycles. Some weeks you get tough plays, and everybody everybody's human and you're going to miss a play. And I think that's what the technology is about. If you got something that's obvious, I think Bud and the committee and the owners and the players, the umpires want to get it right. You don't want to be embarrassed that, a play was obviously out and you called them safe.
And Gorzelani retired for the first out of the inning. Yeah, and we talked about the various scenarios. Do you have any opinions or ideas on how it could be executed? And what do you think? We could start throwing out some hypothetical situations at you, but what do you think will be the biggest challenge concerning replays? I've heard placing base runners. Joe Torre had that discussion with us earlier this year. Is that the biggest challenge when you have replay overturned, or is there something we're not thinking of at this point?
I think Joe was right on. The placement of runners in a situation where whether the ball was caught or not, and now you got an overrule with from an out to a safe. Your guys got to pay attention. The whole crew's got to pay attention, and the placement of runners, like Joe said, that's something that's it's going to be tough, but. Many times when you're working a game behind the plate, you see everything in front of you. You have a good idea, knowing who's throwing the ball and where it's coming from, what a guy can make, and it's going to keep. Actually, it's going to keep the umpires more on their toes than ever, with the placement of runners being part of the replay situation. Other than that, and I can think of a play I had many years ago in Atlanta, and the first base coach came over to me, and the guy really liked me, and it
we
was
all like you. How could you not, Bruce?
And it was the 12th. It was in the 12th inning, and I called the guy out, and the coach came over and didn't swear, didn't do anything. He said, "Bruce, that was awful," and I it bothered me. When the game was over, I went and looked at it, and it was awful.
Let me ask you this:
Yeah.
I mean, if you're out there and you have these, replays, in front of you, do you think umpires are going to be more apt to give safe signs and fair signs as opposed to calling a guy out and then having to place base runners, or calling the play foul and then having to place base runners if in the event that the replay shows it was fair? Do you think that's going to come into the mind of the umpires?
I think umpires, and today umpiring, and I tell you too this because you're on the air every day, umpiring's tougher than it's ever been because of the technology. And I see guys make the calls, and the technology doesn't intimidate them anyway. And I don't see with more coming in that they'll be intimidated. As an umpire, you're taught to make quick judgments, and I think they'll still be there. Will they get wrong calls? Absolutely. We're going to have that for the rest of the time. But these guys do a terrific job, and the pressure they're under, like ball players, they're here to get all the calls right, and they want to get them right, and nobody wants to go to the replay.
Yeah. Well, Bruce, great job, and we appreciate the umpire's perspective. Always great to see you.
Great,
we wish you the best of luck.
Great being with you guys.
Thanks, Bruce. Thanks, bud.
That's Bruce Frimming. Take a break. And Gorzolani back on the mound. Well, America's News Sports Network almost here. Fox Sports 1 will be your home for live sports. Shows like Crowd Goes Wild, Fox Football Daily, and Fox Sports Live, the news and highlights show fans have been waiting for. America's News Sports Network is Fox Sports 1, and it premieres tomorrow. Great to have Bruce Fremming with us. And I know he's a busy guy, and he is actually working. You know, he's not just here hanging out at the ballpark. He's an umpire supervisor, and he has his decisions that he makes on a nightly basis. He talks to the umpires and assists them in their protocol with each game. And
I might call Bruce on a number of occasions after a ball game, maybe the next day, about a ruling or a rule interpretation or something along those lines. And he's been a valuable resource to me over the years here in Milwaukee since his retirement.
He is a great resource for us for sure in that area, and he knows the rules so well. And you know, the rule book in baseball is very complicated, and even umpires misinterpret the rules at times. But Bruce is a great resource. We were actually talking about that Brandon Phillips play in shallow center field on Segura, and he hadn't seen the replay. He saw the play but didn't see the replay, so you could just tell in his umpire's mind he's already saying, well, he didn't show me the ball. He didn't show me the ball if I'm an umpire, so that's a safe call, and it ended up as a triple for Segura.
And his term is you take the ball out, show him, and voluntary release when you take the ball out of your glove, show the umpire that you have it, and that would then be an out.
That's a good word too, voluntary release, and this is in super slow-mo obviously, and it looks like Phillips makes the catch, but right there
you can see Tim Timmons. You really never really had the opportunity to see whether Phillips had that ball in his glove.
Chu is going to drop one into left field for a base hit, and his second hit of the ball game.
Now the umpires on a regular basis in the offseason, they'll go to their meetings. They get together and they all get together as a group and go over situations and interpretations of the rule book. Some are better at applying the rules than others, and those are the guys that kind of run things, but they have to go over that every single year. It's tough.
There's Chris Heisey with a runner at first, and a strike from Gorzolani. And we say this all the time, not just because Bruce joined us, but baseball umpires are the best group of officials in all of sports, and he threw that number out there. 99% of the calls on the bases are correct, and they do keep those numbers, and I would agree with that. And there are some that are missed, and they do certainly show up in the highlights and they are discussed at length, but for the most part the umpires are exceptional at what they do.
And they have to make a ruling on every play. That's unlike any other sport. The other sports, football, basketball, hockey, they don't have to make a call if they don't choose to. But the umpires do. They have a lot of calls in front of them every night, particularly the home plate umpire, and they are going to miss some. And we as fans are going to get a little bit of emotional when our team gets the short end of the stick. And that's the right we have.
Yeah, these guys, they want to get it right as well, and I think most of them that I've talked to anyway, most umpires are in favor of more replay and an extra set of eyes, and you don't look at it as the technology being against you. You look at it as the technology helping you see things that maybe the naked eye can't see. There's a high fly ball by Heisey, and that is way back and way gone. Boy, that was a bomb from Chris Heisey, a two-run homer, and the Reds have regained the lead 5-4 on a two-run shot by Heisey, just his 6th of the year.
Gorzolani had given up 7 home runs coming into this start, and 2 tonight, both of them pretty good blasts out of here to left. Todd Frazier, and now Chris Heisey getting all that one right on the sweet spot. Pitch out over the plate and up there near the Harley Davidson deck.
Now Joey Votto slightly off the end of the bat. That's slicing over to Schaefer, who makes the play for the out, and the first out. So Gorzolani finds himself trailing again, 5-4 now. Each club with 6 hits, and the Reds with 2 homers. That'll bring up Brandon Phillips. Donovan Hand back loosening in the bullpen. He was actually up in the first inning and continues throwing here. One gone in the 5th. Sure, Renicky would love to see Gorzelani get through this 5th with no further damage. Brewers will have 4, 5, and 6 in their lineup coming up in the bottom of the 5th. And swing and a miss. So 2-1. Cardinals lost today. St. Louis was shut out by Chicago. Jake Arrieta went 7 strong for the Cubs. He beat Westbrook. 16 games on the schedule tonight in the big leagues. There was a doubleheader in Detroit. Royals beat the Tigers 2-1 in the first game. Royals beat Verlander today. And the Royals have a 3-0 lead over the Tigers in the bottom of the 8th in game 2. That could be an interesting race to watch. Detroit has opened up a good sized lead, but they'll have 11 games against Kansas City the rest of the season. Phillips draws the walk, and the end might be near for Tom Gorzelani. So 2 hits and a walk in this inning. 2 runs are in. And 82 pitches. We're also keeping an eye on the Pirates game. They're hosting the Diamondbacks tonight. Pittsburgh back home. This was in the 5th inning. Neil Walker with his 21st double of the season. He drives one off the wall in right center, and that put the Pirates on top. And Pittsburgh now leads it 4-2 as Andrew McCutchen off Brendan McCarthy with a base hit and an RBI. I'm sure the Pirates are glad to be back home. They have let the Reds and the Cardinals back in the picture in the National League Central. Cincinnati, the hottest of them all. They've won 5 straight. Dodgers have a 7.5 game lead over the Diamondbacks. Dodgers lead 3-0 over the Phillies, who fired Charlie Manuel today. Ryan Sandberg now managing the Phillies. The Hall of Fame second baseman. I saw a note today on the Dodgers. They've won 17 of their last 18 road games. 17-1 their last 18 road games.
Yeah, they've been outstanding as of late. Everything working for the Dodgers. It's been amazing. They're following what they've been able to do.
20 games over 500. They've won 8 straight. So they're up 7.5 in the National League East. The Braves running away with that division. 14.5 game lead over the Nationals. If it all finished as it is right now, there'd be 3 teams from the Central in the postseason. You'd have the Reds and the Cardinals in the 1-game wild card playoff. The winner of that would advance to play the Atlanta Braves in the division series. Pirates would match up against the Dodgers. There's a good breaking ball, and it's in there for a strike, and Bruce is retired. Second out of the inning.
Yeah, good slider that time on the front door to get Bruce. Hey, tonight's having the game winner. The Racine Moose Slides, number 437. If they call the Brewers in the next 24 hours, they get 40 Miller Lite beer pen tickets to a Brewers home game. This offer courtesy of the Tavern League of Wisconsin and Miller Lite.
So Renicky is going to take the ball from Gorzolani, who wants to stay, but he's out. With Todd Frazier coming up, who is 2 for 2 and 3 RBIs. Donovan Hand is coming in.
Starting pitcher for the Brewers, 4 2/3 innings. Hey, with just $20, see the Brew Crew in the Zoo. Get one Terrace Reserve ticket to select Brewers games and one 2013 adult admission ticket to the Milwaukee County Zoo. Plus a free beverage tumbler. For tickets, call 414-902-4000 or visit brewers.com/zoo.
Donovan Hand will be first man out of the bullpen today as he comes in for Gorzolani. There are 2 outs in the inning. 2 runs are in, and the Reds have a runner at first. 20th appearance for Hand, who has bounced back and forth between the bullpen and the rotation. And it looks like with Gallardo coming back from the DL tomorrow, Hand will settle into that long relief role.
And last pitched on the 8th. It was a start against the Giants and took a 4-1 loss. 4 earned runs in 5 innings. Still looking for his first win of the season.
Frazier's had a good night. He's driven in 3 runs. Had a 2 RBI double in the first inning, actually a single in the first, and then he homered in the 4th. And Hand deals him a strike. Looked like Gorzolani was trying to convince his manager to leave him in, but I think the 2 at-bats by Frazier convince Renicky otherwise. Gorzolani leaves with 5 strikeouts and no chance to win the game, even if the Brewers come back. Hand still looking for his first big league win. He certainly pitched well enough to get a victory. And they got him. Hand picks him off. Brandon Phillips, the final out at first base. So Donovan Hand with a quick release. And the inning ends. And the Reds lead 5-4.
Yankees home run gave the Reds a 5-4 lead. Johnny Helwig continues to impress in Nashville. On our minor league report last night, he went 6 innings, giving up 5 hits, just 2 runs, 4 walks for Johnny in the win. And on his last 10, he's been on quite the roll, going 8-1 with an ERA under 2. Ron Renneke said earlier he hopes the same for Alfredo Figueroa. He says there is just as much of an opportunity when a guy is sent down to Nashville as there is when a guy is called up here to the big leagues. He hopes Figueroa can work on his off-speed stuff, says if he can get that going, he can come up here to the big leagues and do anything with his stuff and his velocity that he has.
And do it under a little bit less pressure than that big league stage. AAA has its pressures, don't get me wrong, but
not like this.
Not like the big leagues. And good to see Johnny Helwig go down and respond. He was sent down. Things didn't go well for him in the major leagues in this brief tour here. And I think the Brewers all along felt like it was early for him to be in the major leagues. But all the injuries and ineffective pitching
pressed into duty. Probably you might see him back here in September.
He certainly earned that chance, right? After he's gone down and dominated the Pacific Coast League, and that is generally thought of as a hitter's league.
I believe September 1st is 2 weeks away.
Rosters will expand on September 1st. Minor league season will be over. Mike Leake and Devin Mesoraco having a tough time connecting on the signs with Lucroy at the plate. Lucroy in an 0-2 count. Leake wanted the changeup, and he gets it, and he misses. And that's a good example. And you saw Leake kind of snatch that ball out of the air. He's a guy who likes to pitch in a rhythm. He likes to work quickly. And while he got the pitch he wanted, it took him a while to get to it. All goes back to our conversation about the flow last night.
Mesoraco has handled things nicely in the absence of Ryan Hannigan. He was on the disabled list, and about the time the Reds started to play some pretty good baseball. I mean, if you get to the big leagues, you know how to call a game, and just got to give guys a chance.
Two and two. You could almost see Mesoraco thinking there. Put the fastball down, and Leake shook it off, and you could see the wheel start to spin, right? It took a little time to get to the next signal.
Yep, change up, and Mesoraco acted as though he got crossed up. Devin Mesoraco has been with this club all year, so he knows perfectly well what Mike Leake wants to try and do out there. And I think he was expecting a slider. He got a change up and not able to handle it. It's tough to get crossed up when there's nobody on base.
That's a good point. 3-2. Mesoraco does have an interesting way of calling signals. Are you with me on this?
Yeah, he's
with
way
the
out.
Thumb out.
I mean, what happened to the day where you tried to hide the signals? He's got him out by his knees,
and his thumb's out. Even I could see where there'd be confusion. It looked like maybe a changeup signal, or maybe he just forgot. I don't know. See, that's a normal call. Shook that one off. Third shake off. Now that one.
He said you forgot the thumb. If you put the thumb up the first time, I'd have thrown the fastball
right.
for you.
So I'm assuming that's a cut fastball. Is that what that? Just taking a guess. What's the difference between a regular one with the thumb in?
I had no idea.
The one with the thumb out.
I never had a sign like that.
You know you got too many pitches when you start bringing in the thumb into the equation.
Right.
There's some thinking going on though with these two. Nope. Nope.
And it'll come right back to it. There it is.
Okay.
The cutter.
Here we go. And Lucroy into center. Chu playing deep. He can't get there. Jonathan Lucroy with a base hit. That's his second. And after a long battle, when he got down 0-2, Lucroy on a 3-2 pitch delivers with a single.
Yeah, Chu's been a little shaky out in center field tonight. Wasn't able to get to that baseball that Brandon Phillips dropped, and Segura ended up at third base. He plays so deep and did not get a very good jump on this ball. I think kind of in between, either lay out or you wait back. He got caught in between, and there's a base hit for Lucroy.
Now the Reds gave up a great center fielder in Drew Stubbs, defensive center fielder, but they wanted more offense and they wanted a leadoff hitter. That was what they were missing last year, they felt. Stubbs, in their mind, didn't pan out as a hitter. Certainly wasn't a leadoff hitter, a guy who struck out a lot. So they knew they were going to be a little down compared to where they were last year in center field. Who's been a right fielder, hasn't played center field in a while until this year.
Plays very deep, not able to really come in on that last one. And center field's not a whole lot, not real big out in Great American Ballpark. Relatively small outfield.
Ramos Ramirez singled and scored in the third, and that skips away. It's a tough position. Not only do you have to deal with the hitting part of the game as a position player, but when you're a catcher, you spend most of your energy, your mental energy, focusing on the game plan and the pitcher. Trying to game plan for hitters as Ramirez goes to right, and Bruce is there to make the catch. Throw to first is late. So Ramos is retired. Lucroy has to scamper back to first base.
And you see the difference between Chu and Jay Bruce. Bruce doesn't play all that deep, and he's able to get there easily and almost got the double play. Very accomplished right fielder. Has good range, a good throwing arm, and very accurate.
So here is Juan Francisco. Opposite field home run in the second inning put the Brewers on the board. He's 1 for 2 tonight. Brewers down a run. Cincinnati got a 2-run homer from Chris Heisey in the 5th in the top of this inning. That gave him the lead. Way inside, almost got a piece of him. That looks to be the game plan for the league, trying to attack Francisco inside.
And fastball is inside, but off the plate inside, and then throw him strikes with a breaking ball. There's that cutter. Started on the corner and ended up very close to getting a piece of him.
2 balls and a strike. Lucroy at first. Francisco fouls it off. Might have chased one inside that time.
Dangerous pitch, throwing that cut fastball in there to lefties. As long as you leave it in off the plate, you're going to be all right. Best thing a hitter can do with it is foul it if he hits it hard. Well, you leave it out over the plate, you're putting it right in their wheelhouse.
One with a curveball. 2-2, and it misses away. Full count. Got him. So Francisco strikes out. That's the 3rd K for Mike Leake, and now the second out. Lucroy still at first, 2 away for Chris Davis.
That's kind of been the story. Mike Leake against Francisco. Fastballs for balls and curveballs for strikes. Singrani throwing a fastball in on Chris Davis and almost hit it into Bernie's slide. And tonight got a breaking ball from Leake and doubled into the gap in left center to score a couple of runs.
Here is Chris Davis with 2 away. And hoping to do what he did last night. Davis had a double earlier tonight with 2 outs that drove in 2 runs. Davis' first tour in the big leagues produced no homers. Thought of as a big power hitter coming up through the Brewers minor league system. 0 home runs in his first 15 games, but he has hit 5 in his last 17 games. And that ball's hit hard to left, and it's down, a base hit. Heisey plays it on a hop. Actually made a nice play to keep it in front. Davis continues to hit. He has not been retired tonight. 2 for 2 with a walk, and the inning is alive for Scooter Gennett.
Boy, how good is he looking at the plate right now?
Another breaking pitch.
Pretty much the same location that he got when he doubled to score a couple of runs. That was back in the 3rd inning. He's just right on everything right now.
2 on, 2 out, and Scooter Gennett stepping in, who singled in the 2nd, walked in the 3rd. And a sharply hit ball in the 2nd inning that ended as a single to right. Playing the role of a run producer here. And Gennett back up the middle, base hit. Lucroy around 3rd. They're going to try. No, Lucroy will be held up, but Davis doesn't see it. And now Davis will be caught in a rundown. And Lucroy now on his way to the plate. Phillips to Mesoraco, and the inning ends. Well, the Brewers run themselves right out of the inning. Davis running with his head down, did not see Lucroy stop around 3rd base. And the inning ends. 3 hits, but no runs. And a costly mistake in the 5th.
And clearly Ed Cedar held him up in time.
And Cincinnati coming up. Well, Dave Heller, he scours the internet to find the best tweets from Wisconsin athletes. You can check out his top 10 tweets every Friday at foxsportswisconsin.com. Brewers run themselves out of a scoring opportunity perhaps after the Gennett single.
Well, keep an eye on Chris Davis rounding 2nd. He never does really pick up what's going on at 3rd base. And assuming that Lucroy is going to score, Ed Cedar held Lucroy up in plenty of time to stop everybody, and And the Reds end up getting the out 8-2 to 4-2 on the putout.
And a base running mistake by Davis. So the Brewers come up empty despite 3 hits. And now Todd Frazier will lead off. He was at the plate when Brandon Phillips was picked off by Hand in the 5th inning. Tom Gorzolani goes 4 2/3. Hand got that final out. And facing Frazier, Mesoraco and Cozart in this 6th inning.
Too bad the Brewers not able to take the lead there, because had they done that and Ron Renicky went to the bullpen, Donovan Hand would have been able to maybe pick up a win without throwing a pitch.
And Frazier sends it down the right field line, slicing into foul territory.
I should say without getting an out to a hitter. You pick off the runner, get the 3rd out. You're the pitcher of record, get a couple of runs, win the game, and you get the win finally. Looking for his 1st of the season. That would have been an interesting way to get it.
And then you start looking through the scorecard and going, now where did he retire anybody? How did he get it out? Oh yeah, it was a pickoff. Two and 2 to Frazier. It's been a tough out tonight. He's got 2 hits and 3 RBIs and misses inside. Full count. See what he has in mind. And he fouls it away. Sophia, I know you've had a chance to visit with Donovan Hand. He's been in that starter role, reliever role, and just happy to be in the big leagues, I'm assuming.
Well, he is, and he told me that one thing he really took away from his time as a starter was just the ability to throw regular bullpens, something he doesn't get the opportunity to do as a long man guy. He said the time to work on his changeup, the pitch he feels that got him drafted, he spent a lot of time working on that. And also he said the challenge of just maintaining your focus for 90 to 100 pitches as a starter, he knows will help carry over to these shorter stints of 40 to 50 pitches. He said that was ultimately the biggest challenge for him. But took a lot away from that starting experience. He said feels he did enough to show what he can do as a starter.
Well, and I'm sure he goes back into this long relief role with a lot of confidence, Rock, based on the way he pitched. He didn't win, but he pitched well, and he gave the Brewers some very good innings as a starting pitcher. And I think he opened up some eyes that he could do that. Frazier takes off, hit and run is on, and Mesoraco fouls it away.
Well, the only reason he got an opportunity to start was because he was so effective out of the bullpen. He can give you 2, 3, even 4 innings at this point. He's stretched out a little bit. And one of his biggest assets has been the way he's been able to throw strikes, get ahead in the count. And that normally has been what has made Tom Gorzolani so good. But the Brewers tonight, between Gorzolani and Hand, 4 walks. That's unusual. You know, for Gorzolani, he had 3, and Hand walked his first batter.
Missed inside. 1-1 on Mesoraco. And looking for that ground ball to turn 2.
And Donovan really concentrating a lot over there at first base on Todd Frazier, who's really not a base stealer. I mean, worry about that hitter. They rely on Lucroy to throw him out, not that fast.
Frazier has 5 stolen bases this year.
And at 5 for 8. These guys get thrown out a lot. And the ones that go, they've only got 38 bags.
There's a strike, and it's 1-2.
Yeah, Reds have 38 stolen bases. They've been caught stealing 28 times.
Man, I can understand why they don't run.
Right.
Gene Segura has 35 stolen bases. An individual, just 3 behind Dusty Baker's team. And you know, Baker's been a manager who likes to use the running game. Just doesn't have the personnel to do it this season. 1-2. And Mesoraco chased one. Down he goes. So the first out, and the first out recorded at the plate for Donovan Hand, is a strikeout.
That fastball, slider, and slow curve. There's the slider off the outside corner to get Mesoraco. And you see the spin, the dot, and out of the zone, and Mesoraco looks bad on that pitch.
Zach Cozart now, the Cincinnati shortstop, who is 0 for 2. Reds were certainly hoping for more out of Cozart, hitting just .239. Got some power, though. He does have 9 homers. Reds felt so good about Cozart, they were willing to make that big 3-team trade that involved their next best shortstop, Didi Gregorius, who's the starter in Arizona this year. There's a pop-up. Segura eases back. And 2 outs for Hand. There's a lot of moving parts in that trade. Take a look at our Charter Cable high-speed pitch velocity. Nobody really doing it with a big fastball tonight. Mike Leake has hit 92. Hand and Gorzolani Hand at 90. Gorzolani topping out at 93. Pitcher spot due up. Leake is going to be lifted for a pinch hitter, Jack Hanahan.
And Dusty Baker has seen enough from Mike Leake. One of his best throughout the season. A very shaky start for him tonight, but he's the pitcher of record. 81 pitches for Leake. Give up 9 hits. Brewers have out hit the Reds.
Leake goes 5 innings, 4 runs on those 9 hits. But in line for a win. Unless the Brewers can come back. There's a strike, and it's 0-2 on Hanahan. Donovan Hand trying to get through this 6th. A leadoff walk. And he just missed a fastball. By how much, you ask? Not by much. Fox Tracks had it just inside.
Close pitch to take.
Well, looking ahead to the Brewers 6th, they'll have Schaefer leading off, then the pitcher spot, and then back to the top of the order. 2-2. Count goes full now. A lot of deep counts in this game.
Yeah, both pitchers, all 3 of them actually.
Yeah, a lot of nibbling.
Yes, getting ahead and then trying to get hitters to chase, and they're not doing it.
That's a good look. That's a chorizo look right there. Our time is coming. Runner goes. 3-2 is outside, ball 4. So Hand just missing, but missing nonetheless, and he has 2 walks, and now the Reds with 2 on, and Shin-Soo Choo coming up.
Next batter is center fielder Shin-Soo Choo.
Choo has 2 hits tonight, a couple of singles. He scored a run. He's 2 out of 3. And another guy that sees a lot of pitches. Frazier at second. Hanahan over at first. Choo swinging away at the first pitch. Fouls it back.
Man, this Reds ball club, I mean, you never know what they're going to do up there at the plate. You got Choo, who takes a lot of pitches. Votto, who takes pitches more than any other hitter in the National League. Sometimes they will go up there and try and ambush that fastball. Choo had a good hack, but fouled it off.
And it's quickly 0-2. Choo was the big piece in that 3-team trade. That was a December trade. The Reds, the Diamondbacks, and the Indians. Choo went from the Indians to Cincinnati. And when 3 teams are involved, there are specific needs. And 2 teams just don't quite fit all the holes in the trade. So general managers try to find a trade partner. I'm always amazed at how many 3-team trades there are.
Right.
There's a lot of names in that deal.
Got to have a lot of trust in the organizations that you're doing business with when you do that. And somebody might decide to pull the plug and kind of blow up what you're intending to do, and that very rarely happens, though. You don't want to have that reputation slapped on you in baseball.
In the air to center field. Logan Schaefer wants it, and that will retire the side. So Hand works around a couple of walks, and we're headed to the bottom of the 6th inning. 5-4 Cincinnati. Wisconsin is presented by the Wisconsin Lottery, reminding you to please play responsibly. And by Miller Lite. It's not just a good time, it's Miller time. Sausages aren't just mailing it in. I think the little Italian, he jumped the gun a little bit, but that's all right. He almost, oh, he did get caught. Oh, wow. Tremendous finishing kick by the little weenie, the Polish.
That's an effort. You don't see the big sausages make that kind of effort.
Oh, no chance. 5-4 our score. The famous racing sausage is entertaining the crowd here tonight. New pitcher for the Reds as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning is Alfredo Simon.
Yeah, good numbers for Simon. 47th appearance, earned run average under 3. Last pitched on Wednesday against the Cubs. A 5-0 Reds victory. He pitched a scoreless inning.
Well, the Brewers had something cooking last inning, but ran themselves out of an inning. 3 hits. But, a base running mistake, and the Brewers came up empty. So here they are, down a run still. Scooter Gennett has 2 hits and a walk. Chris Davis with 2 hits and a walk. 9 hits overall by the Brewers. Schaefer looking for his first.
Brewers haven't really had much problems getting men on base. I mean, it's coming up with the big hit. And got to avoid trying to make outs on the bases. It's been a problem the last few games.
Well, there's one area of concern for the Reds. It has been their middle relief. They're pretty good setting up Aroldis Chapman when they have leads and their late inning relief. But I mean, if that's your weakest link, you've got a good ball club.
Yeah, most teams have problems there. I mean, you get a 4 or 5 inning start, and you get your long men and middle men in there. I mean, most teams are going to have an issue with that, but the Reds have not had that problem recently, and the Brewers have not had to deal with that too much.
Three and 1. Schaefer takes ball 4. So a good start by the Brewers, getting a leadoff walk and a fast runner at that. Well, registrations are underway for Brewers Fantasy Camp. February 2nd through the 9th, when you really need to see blue skies and green grass. Fantasy Camp is your answer in Phoenix, Arizona. You get instruction from the pros, a couple of games daily, professional clubhouse staff, all the athletic trainers are available. You get to use the batting cages, using the same facilities in the clubhouse as the big leaguers. And most importantly, you get to be involved in Kangaroo Court.
Yeah, registrations are coming in hot and heavy, and if you're thinking about it, I'd do it. We just got Mike Caldwell in the fold. Left-hander for the Brewers back in the 70s.
He can pitch
and
every
80s.
game of the doubleheader. Every day.
So Mike Caldwell has never been to Brewers Fantasy Camp, and he's going to be coming this year. Gorman, Gannon, Cecil Cooper. And it would be Fantasy Camp without Jerry Augustine.
For sure. Jeff Bianchi pinch hits. He squares to bunt, takes a ball. Now, it's always a great time, and as soon as they clear out the clubhouse from Fantasy Camp, you start to see the Brewer coaches, pitchers and catchers start to report right after that. It's kind of a good way to get the spring schedule jump started.
Yep, Robin Yap, Bob Uecker usually show up for a day and kind of entertain the group, sign some autographs.
Bianchi bunts it foul. Bianchi started at second base last night. He looked very good out there too. And a couple of beautiful plays.
Turning a double play, something that he's not used to, particularly turning it as a second baseman. A completely different animal altogether than what he's used to at shortstop.
Squares again, gets the bunt down, and the throw to first. So Frazier thought about it for a moment, took the sure out at first base. Phillips had a long way to go for that throw to first. And a sacrifice bunt for Bianchi, who had 2 hits last night, advancing Schaefer into scoring position here in the 6th.
And it wasn't easy. Look at Todd Frazier. He's busting in there, and had that ball not been dead like it was, Frazier would have had to play at second base. And a nice bunt by Bianchi, tying run out there at second.
All right, top of the order now, and Nori Aoki. Norrie is hitless tonight. He's 0 for 3. A strikeout victim in the 4th against Leake. A base hit. Has a chance to score a run. Reds have good arms in the outfield. Very strong arms in center field and right field.
I think Chris Heisey very shallow out there in left. Chu has come in, and we've seen Aoki drive that ball in the left center. So if he's able to get one in that gap, he's going to run for a while.
1-1, and a breaking ball strike. 1-2 on Aoki.
Breaking ball, and boy, had some late break to it and caught the top half of the strike zone.
Aoki into center field. Chu is there. And the second out. So that'll bring up Segura now. Segura had a triple in the 3rd inning. Very unusual triple. It's just a pop up into no man's land. It's in our Jimmy John's Freaky Fast delivery. Check this out. Segura busting it out of the box. Phillips trying to make an over the shoulder catch. And it bounced off his glove, off his leg, and Segura ended up at 3rd base.
And not many guys in baseball are going to end up on 3rd base on that play.
And he would score. The next hitter, Jonathan Lucroy, drove him in that 3rd inning. That tied the game. Brewers would take the lead in that inning, scoring 3 runs total in the 3rd. But Cincinnati got a homer from Frazier in the 4th, and then a 2-run home run from Heisey in the 5th. And that's where we are, 5-4. 2 outs, bottom of the 6th. Schaefer drew a leadoff walk, was bunted to second, and now Simon with 2 gone spins one in for a strike. 2-1.
95 with a fastball and that very good overhand curveball that has very late break on it. Comes out of his hand, you think it's going to be high, and then right as it gets to the cut of the dirt, catches the strike zone.
And a called strike on a curveball. 2-2.
There's the grip. He's got good rotation on it and has been very consistent in the strike zone with it.
Simon wants to start over. There's been a grinder for Mesoraco tonight with Leake and now Simon. Been a lot of discussions at the mound. The pace of this game is very slow. I think part of the reason is because Mesoraco hasn't exactly been in sync with his pitchers, or maybe vice versa. You don't know the story behind it. And when pitchers are struggling, it's tough to get them in that rhythm. Sometimes they don't know what they want to throw. 2-2. Came with a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. For a guy who has a fastball like that, he throws a lot of breaking stuff.
Yeah. And that keeps hitters off the fastball. But if you can throw it for a strike, it's invaluable. If he can't throw it for a strike, which really hasn't been the case too often this year, given his earned run average, That's when he gets in trouble, just like any other pitcher. That curveball is a good pitch for him.
2-2, and the curveball is lined into center field. Chu on a hop. They're going to send Schaefer. The throw to the plate. It is late. Schaefer scores.
Well, one too many, huh? He hung that one, and Segura was waiting for it and banged it right back into center field. Chu, not a very good arm, not a very good throw into home plate. Double clutched on it, and kind of threw a grounder into home plate. Here it is, a hanger, the first hanger that he's thrown in this inning, and with 2 strikes, Segura with that good approach, able to hit it right back through the middle and drive in a big run to get Tom Gorzolani off the hook and tie the game.
Well, you're right about Chu. I think I'm sure he was surprised that Schaefer was sent. It took him a while to get rid of that baseball.
Yeah.
And that was a line drive, one hopper right to him. That had a chance to be a close play at the plate.
He's had a rough night in center field tonight. He really has.
At the plate presented by Wendy's. And there goes Segura to third, and he's on his feet. He will stop there. Lucroy was waving him in. Segura popped up, and when he realized where the ball was, he wisely stays put.
And Segura's on his belly. Or in his case, his stomach. There's the Rocket trying to be a little bit too quick. Look at Segura and Lucroy telling, maybe not. Stay there.
Yeah, I had you holding up.
I'll drive you in. Don't worry about it. Stay right there.
I mean, he's fast, but he's not that fast. He does steal the base, though, and he's at third with 2 away. Segura now 36 stolen bases on the year, just one off the National League lead. Dusty Baker, there's nobody warming up in the Reds bullpen, so this is a calm down discussion from the Cincinnati manager.
Well, then perhaps, what do you want to do with Lucroy here? He's their best in these situations. Leonard's in scoring position. He's got a great approach. You got a guy on deck, Ramirez, although he can hurt you badly, but he's just coming off the DL. What do you want to do here? How careful do you want to be, and how aggressive do you want to be with Lucroy? The Brewers RBI leader,
who has an RBI tonight that tied the game. The Brewers have evened it at 5 on the Segura single. And now Lucroy a chance to put him ahead once again. And he pumped a fastball right down the middle.
Answers that question.
Alfredo Simon, former Oriole pitcher. 1-1. Lucroy fouls it away. That sinking fastball that time. That game in Pittsburgh has gone final. The Pirates win at 6-2. Garrett Cole now 6-5. They beat McCarthy. Pushes the Diamondbacks back a little bit. The Dodgers won tonight 4-0. So Arizona is slipping further and further back. They're now 8.5 behind LA. 1-2 the count. And Lucroy into right field. Bruce is over, and he's got it for the out. Side retired, but Segura delivers a 2-out RBI single, and we're all tied at 5. and the Brewers and Reds all tied at 5. Juan Francisco continues his torrid run at the plate. He homered again tonight. That was in the second. Todd Frazier homered and drove in 2 with a single. He has 3 runs batted in. And Chris Heisey put Cincinnati on top with a 2-run home run in the 5th. But Gene Segura has just tied it with an RBI single. It came with 2 outs and 2 strikes. And Segura squares it up at 5, and that means Rob Wooten is the next man out of the Brewers bullpen.
And another guy that's been really pitching well since coming up from the minor leagues. He has not allowed an earned run. Now in his first 10 appearances, 9 strikeouts, only 1 walk, has not allowed a home run. And 10 or more scoreless innings, not happening too often. Rob Wooten's done it. And only Mike Adams back in 04 started his Brewers career with 10 scoreless innings. Not bad. Good effort by Wooten.
Pretty good company there. Adams had a lot of injuries with the Brewers. Went on to become one of the premier setup men with the Padres. So Rob Wooten and Mike Adams. Wooten is now at 11 scoreless to start his career. Adams eventually in 2004 ended up at 13 consecutive scoreless innings. Wooten, a 27-year-old rookie. He was the closer in AAA. Wooten proved he could finish off games, pitch in multiple innings. Brewers called him up in late July. July 26th, as a matter of fact. Wooten had 20 saves in Nashville in 40 games. An ERA of 2.94 and showed great command. In 40 games, he walked just 12 batters. He struck out 45. I covered 52 innings. He was certainly more than a 1 inning per game pitcher. 52 frames in 40 games. Kept his walks down, and I think that's what finally got him to the big leagues. The fact that he had a good ERA, he threw a lot of strikes, and he did it in big spots. And there's a base hit by Heisey. So the hits keep coming tonight. 16 of them, make it 17 of them in this game.
Yeah, hits are cheap, aren't they, tonight?
Our text question tonight, courtesy of Ho Chunk Gaming. Chris in Sheboygan wants to know, are you surprised Charlie Manuel got let go by the Phillies today?
Yeah, I am at this point in the season. Ryan Sandberg taking over. But Charlie had a nice run with the Phillies.
It had to be very emotional for Ruben Amaro Jr., the general manager. Ruben played for Charlie Manuel when Manuel was the hitting coach of Cleveland. Ryan Sandberg named as the interim manager. Reading reports on that, and it was stated that Amaro had made the decision not to bring Charlie Manuel back for next season. So once that decision was made, he went to Charlie. They discussed him finishing the year perhaps, and who that replacement might be. Was Sandberg ready to manage in the big leagues? And Charlie Manuel, it seems like, was very much a part of the decision to leave now and let Sandberg get his feet wet in the managerial seat. It allows Amaro to make a decision at the end of the year. The Phillies, just with all of that talent and those big contracts, they did have a great run. They won 5 straight division championships. They won the World Series in 2008. And they signed up a lot of guys, a lot of frontline pitchers like Hamels and Cliff Lee and Roy Halladay. And they have underachieved the last 2 years.
They've had a lot of injuries, though. I mean, to key people. And Ryan Howard and Chase Utley, and pitchers going down with injury. Roy Halladay has missed the season. But who goes? The manager.
Morrow did say he's hoping Manuel will remain in the organization. 2-2 to Votto. Runner goes, and the throw to second is high. So the Reds are running a little bit tonight. Heisey with a steal.
Yeah, good throw by Lucroy, and that's going to be an out. Yeah, throw sailed on him. And Heisey able to get in there safely.
So Heisey with his third stolen base. He's in scoring position for Votto in a tie game in the 7th inning. In a game where outs have been tough to come by. And Votto draws the walk with plenty of swagger, as if he's selling the umpire that he sees it before anybody else.
As if that's his goal when he goes up there to draw a walk. It seems like that's the case with Votto. He's such a good hitter, though, and he does not give in. He's very disciplined, and he's not going to chase no matter what you try and do to him. One of the reasons why his RBI totals are down.
It is a fair question, though, and I know Votto, he hates that question, but it is a fair question. Does he walk too much? Does he not expand his strike zone and RBI opportunities? Votto's answer would be, I have plenty of guys behind me that do that, and it's for the betterment of the team that I'm on base.
But he gets paid to do it himself. He's not a guy that's supposed to be a table setter. He's supposed to be the guy to clear the table.
Brandon Phillips almost hit by a pitch.
But you can't argue with the results for Joey Votto. It works for him and it works for the Reds.
It's quite a contrast between the personalities of Joey Votto and Brandon Phillips. It's another thing about the Reds. They are a very interesting team, personality wise. Votto plays the game almost angry. You know, he plays with a fire and intensity. Brandon Phillips, it's like just a Sunday afternoon pickup game in the Sandlot.
Right, he enjoys himself. They both enjoy themselves. They both have a different way of going about it. Yep, slider from Donovan Hand and off the plate, and Phillips tried to pull it, maybe trying to knock it out of the ballpark. Actually, Rob Wooten.
2 on, nobody out. Phillips in the air. Right center, and Aoki and Schaefer. It's going to be Aoki who makes the catch, and Heisey has to stay put. I like what Schaefer did right there. That was a sneaky little deke by Logan Schaefer. Maybe that'll be what they talk about tonight on our Brewers Live instructional. Our Brewers Live post-game show. Actually, I see here it says soft tossing. Bill and Shelby.
Yeah, well, we were working with some kids one day. We taped these things, and T-Bone Shelby, who was a very good coach, a coach of young kids and big leaguers alike. How to incorporate the soft toss in your batting practice.
We'll look forward to that. There's a bouncing ball. Segura throws to second, and the out is recorded at second base. Wow, that was beautiful on both ends, Segura and Jeanette. Boy, I didn't think the Brewers had a chance at an out on that play.
Yeah, I mean, that was their only chance, because Jay Bruce would have beat it at first base, and Chris Heisey, no chance of Segura get him at third. I think he's looking right here, but realizes no opportunity to get him, and look at the throw right on the money. And the guy's always under control, good balance, and that throw right on the bag and easily getting Joey Votto. That was the toughest of the 3 opportunities that he had. That throw to second base, the angle he had very easily could have gone into the outfield.
Throwing with his back to Scooter Jeanette. Impressive body control of Segura. And Jeanette was right there for him. He had a long way to go to get to the bag as well. Prior to that pitch, the Brewers were playing Bruce to pull. That is why Segura had so far to go. He was toward the bag. Jeanette was covering the hole between first and second. I was looking at that play, though, of Schaefer. You know, you're watching Schaefer. He looks like he's going to make the catch. He's nowhere near the baseball, but as Frazier in the left, coming in Davis, and he can't get it. Picks it up on a hop, fortunately, and the run will score. And the Reds have the lead, and Todd Frazier's having one of those nights. 4 runs batted in, 3 hits and a walk, and a 2-out RBI single gives Cincinnati the lead once again.
Yeah, Chris Heisey and Todd Frazier, the 2 guys the Brewers have had a tough time with tonight. And Joey Votto fairly quiet, Jay Bruce fairly quiet, but it's the guys around him that have been doing the damage. And Davis playing deep, not able to make up ground, and the ball drops in front of him.
Ramirez goes to second for the out. The inning is over. Rob Wooten gives up his first run as a big leaguer in his 12th appearance. Reds lead at 6-5.
And one of the biggest stories in baseball right now, the replay proposal put forth by the league yesterday, giving a manager 3 challenges over the course of a game. Challenges would then be reviewed by a crew at league headquarters in New York. So on our AT&T Twitter poll, we asked fans to weigh in whether they were in favor of the proposal or not. 58% said no. Now, again, this is just a proposal. The owners will have to vote on this at league meetings. They need 75% approval, and it will then go to the Players Association and umpires. So be an interesting discussion around baseball on this.
Yeah, I like it. I think that's on purpose as baseball, making these announcements, and I think it does generate a lot of discussion and good to banter back and forth, and I think it gives the league a better idea where folks stand on it. They'll be making their decisions based on how everybody thinks it works. As Ramirez yanks one, fair or foul. That ball is deep and foul. Too much hook. It was close, though.
That just got out, had the hook on it, and certainly had the distance.
Ramirez starting to get his timing back. Ramos is 1 for 3 tonight, his first hit since coming back from the DL. Got a line drive to right in the 5th inning. Been a back and forth game tonight. 6-5 Reds are on top for the time being as we play in the bottom of the 7th inning. And a bouncer, nice play. Votto from the ground. He hits Simon covering the bag. And Ramirez is retired. Now Juan Francisco coming up, and back in the second inning. An opposite field home run for Francisco, his 12th as a member of the Brewers, and overall number 18 for him.
Yeah, strong man, got a fastball, one of the few that he's seen tonight, and knocked it out of here to left field.
There'll be a pitching change here. Dusty Baker will make a double switch. Manny Parra is coming in to face Francisco.
Brewers wrap up this series. Fans, you can come on out to Miller Park as your Milwaukee Brewers host the St. Louis Cardinals this Monday through Wednesday. For tickets, call 414-902-4000 or visit Brewers.com. And former Brewer Manny Parra warming up right now for the Reds. BA.
Yep, and a double switch, Sophia. Ryan Hannigan will come in to catch as Dusty Baker rearranges his lineup. And Manny Parra is on the mound, and Ron Renick's going to counter as well. Instead of Francisco, he'll go with Sean Halton, who was just brought back up to the big leagues. Parra pitched last night, and the former Brewer is back out there once again.
And Manny's having a nice season with the Cincinnati Ball Club at 341 earned run average. Got off to a bit of a shaky start, but lately has been very good. 39th appearance, doing 5 home runs. And Sean Halton getting the call. Francisco has really struggled against left-handed pitchers this year.
Well, Halton back in the big leagues, made his major league debut earlier this year, back in late June. His first major league hit came against Matt Garza, back when Garza was pitching for the Cubs. Halton playing first base and the corner outfield positions in Nashville. Hit .288 with 11 homers and 47 driven in 85 games. Brewers saw a lot of them in spring training this year, and he did a good job. He made an impression. And when the Brewers needed some help, first base / outfield help, back in June, he got the call.
And put together some pretty good at bats in the big leagues, and although his numbers don't show it, he's hit the ball pretty well.
He's 9 for 45 at the plate with a home run and 2 RBIs.
Yeah, but really hit into some bad luck. I mean, hit some balls hard that were caught. But that's the way it goes. It doesn't say that when you look up at the batting average on the scoreboard.
Yeah, well, his home run came against Cincinnati. Brewers down a run. Bottom of the 7th inning. And Halton able to lay off.
Umpire tries to put you away, the right-handers, with that split-fingered fastball. Throwing a slider and a fastball. Hasn't been throwing a curveball as much. That was a big pitch for him as a member of the Brewers.
Parra still has that good fastball. Parra's changed his setup a little bit, more closed, and is back to the hitter. It takes a little bit of getting used to, I'm sure, but Parra's been pitching well for the Reds. They used him in the 8th inning last night before they got to Broxton to set up for Aroldis Chapman. Full count, 1 away. And Halton takes it. Ball 4. Close pitch, but Halton is aboard. A good at bat by Sean Halton, and there is the tying run at first.
They're very disciplined. He got behind in the count 0-2, and Parra tried to get him to chase a couple of split-fingered fastballs. He didn't. And then Halton able to take ball 4 off the corner.
That'll bring up Chris Davis, who's having a good night at the plate tonight. Had a base running blunder in the 5th, but at the plate he's 2 for 3, or rather 2 for 2 with a walk, 2 RBI double, which came with 2 outs in the 3rd inning. Boy, he takes a mighty cut.
Yeah, splitter up in the strike zone. He does. He takes a mighty cut, but he's under control with it. And he waits as long as he can and gives it all he has. A very controlled big swing.
He's a little late, and it's 0-2. Brewers making a move on the last road trip. Caleb Gendel sent back to Nashville. Brewers had 3 outfielders, 3 left fielders, with Gendel, Schaefer, and Davis. And wanting to get a good look at Chris Davis over these next few months, or a couple of months down the stretch. 0-2 is slice foul. He's getting closer.
And both fastballs pretty much right down the middle of the plate. And because of the first pitch splitter from Manny Parra, Davis a little bit behind.
Oh, and 2 now. Davis takes one upstairs, right where Hannigan wanted it. Hannigan is an excellent catcher. Has emerged as the everyday catcher, even though he's coming into this game off the bench. Talking about a guy who controls the pitching program and the scouting report. One ball, 2 strikes. Halton at first. And Davis strikes out. So Parra pumps the fist. It's a big strikeout for him. The 2nd out of the inning. First time Davis has been retired tonight. And that's going to bring up Scooter Gennett.
And a split-fingered fastball to start the at-bat for Manny Parra against Davis. And then 3 fastballs, and then got him with a splitter. There you see the fingers spread apart. The ball tumbles and ends up out of the zone and pulls Davis.
So 2 gone with Halton still at first. And Jeanette, who is 2 for 2 with a walk. And now hitting .311. Jeanette in the air to left. Heisey is there, and that will retire the side. So Parr comes in and keeps the Brewers off the board. 6-5 Reds. That run on an RBI from Todd Frazier in the 7th inning. Sean Halton will stand to play first base. And the new pitcher for Milwaukee is right-hander Burke Badenhop.
Yeah, 52nd appearance for Burke. A .366 earned run average for Badenhop. Took a blown save after allowing 2 of 3 inherited base runners to score back in Texas on Wednesday. Came into a tough situation, bases loaded, nobody out. A .366 ERA is giving up 5 home runs.
I got a bunch of finals rolling in from the big leagues. The Braves won again. They beat the Nationals 3-2. Boy, Atlanta, they're actually starting to dig up magic numbers for the Braves. I think it's 26.
Well, 15.5 game lead now.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Braves are rolling. They have the best record in the big leagues. The Atlanta Braves.
42-17 at home this year. That doesn't include tonight.
So after entering into the postseason as the wild card team last year, the first wild card team, and they hosted that game against the Cardinals. They lost and they were quickly eliminated. Looks like they're ready to secure a division. So the Braves win in 10 innings, by the way, at home. Cozart leading off and lining one to left, a base hit. And very few clean innings in this game tonight. Kozlani had one in the very first inning.
That one in the 4th.
Yep, one in the 4th, and that's been it. There have been 9 hits for the Reds. The Brewers have 10 hits as we play in the 8th.
And the only 3 of 3 down inning for Reds pitching was the 3rd inning for Milwaukee.
Ryan Hannigan will bat now. Came in on the double switch, his first trip to the plate. Reds lead 6-5. Took a 2-0 lead early in the first inning. Hannigan gets a bunt down. Got a chance to go to second. Badenhop does. Segura's thrown to first in time. Wow. What a double play. Badenhop got it there quickly, and Segura fired a BB over to Sean Halton to turn 2.
And Badenhop didn't even hesitate. I mean, he threw a rocket over to Segura, and it had to be right on the money because Segura was already getting in position to make that double play throw. Check it out. I mean, he's ready, and if that throws off the mark, it might end up into the outfield. But how about the arm for Gene Segura and the agility? Get out of the way and get a good throw over to first base to get the double play.
Boy, the Marshfield Clinic shining moment of the game. Badenhop loves it, and he was a big part of it. Pounced on that baseball and made a perfect throw to Segura, which allowed him to clear the bag. Boy, this guy is a joy to watch.
Yes,
Gene
he
Segura.
is. And it's been that way from the beginning of the season.
A star is born in Milwaukee in 2013.
Well, going into spring training, everybody wondering how the young kid Gene Segura is going to be able to handle an everyday job over at shortstop, and that was the big concern. That's just about the only spot that hasn't been a concern this year.
That's right.
It's been that good.
Well, Badenhop strikes out Chu, and the inning is over, and Miller Park has a little life, courtesy of a thrilling double play. Badenhop, Segura to Halton. Bottom of the 8th inning. Brewers coming up, down a run. Out hitting the Reds 10-9 at this point. Bernie ready to get on that slide. Tomorrow it's game 3. It's our Miller Lite What's on Tap, and Gallardo returns from the disabled list. Giovanni Gallardo and Matt Latos will match up. Latos is having another terrific year for the Reds. At 12-3, and ERA right at 3.
And he's had very good success against Milwaukee, and be interested to see how long Giovanni is going to be able to go tomorrow. He's on the disabled list 2 weeks.
There's Logan Schaefer leading off. Manny Parra misses upstairs. Schaefer, and then a pinch hitter. Looks like Betancourt is due to hit next. Probably going to be Parra's last hitter. Baker has his bullpen ready. Schaefer shows bunt, takes ball 2. Logan looking for his first hit of the night. Reds have J.J. Hoover. That's the guy Juan Francisco was traded for last year. But for now, it's Parra. Parra with his new setup, with his back to the hitter, makes him much tougher against left-handed batters. That was always his problem with the Brewers. Lefties hit him pretty well.
Yeah, that and the fact he throws right over the top. He really didn't have much of an advantage. You know, most lefties that are situational left-handers to get lefties out, they kind of throw from the side, you know, high 3/4, throw across their body, making it tough. But Manny's right over the top.
2-1. And Schaefer lifts it in the air to Heisey for the first out. And Dusty Baker is on his way out, waiting for Betancourt to be announced. And now Baker will come out and make the change. So Parra does a good job for the Reds tonight. Issues a walk, but retires 3 batters faced. And Dusty Baker, with his sweatbands and his toothpick, will make the call to the bullpen. We'll take a break. J.J. Hoover in next for Cincinnati. Saying hi to her sister in the front row in left field. And there is her sister in left field. She got a sign too. Bring a sign, we'll make it happen. Well, Carlos Gomez, if you're just picking us up, injured last night on this great catch off the bat of Brandon Phillips. Left the game immediately after that play and had an MRI today on his knee, on his right knee, sprained right knee, but no structural damage. So Gomez is day to day.
It could have been a lot worse for Gomez had that hit his head first. It would have been a bad accident, bad injury out there. J.J. Hoover takes over. Terrific numbers for Hoover. He's got a scoreless streak going of 24 2/3 innings. That covers 21 appearances.
So Betancourt will pinch hit. If you're looking for Gomez off the bench, he is not available today, although he's not on the disabled list. One gone. Betancourt takes a ball. Hoover, at the time of the trade, he was closing games for the Braves AAA club in Gwinnett, and he was a good closer. But the Braves had so much talent, as we have seen over the last couple of years from the pitching ranks. They traded from a position of strength. Hoover's come over here to Cincinnati. He's been quite a find for the Reds.
Yes, he has. They've been very reliable out of the bullpen last couple of years.
Looks like he could chop a tree down quickly. J.J. Hoover. Number 60. Got to have a big back to make number 60 look small, right? He is a wide body. 2-1 to Betancourt, and he fouls it away. 2-2.
Hoover had a 2.05 earned run average last year with Cincinnati in 28 games. Came up late, and he has been a big part of their success out of that bullpen.
I was talking to some members of the Braves personnel when that trade went down, and they had some disagreement about that one as Betancourt strikes out for the second out of the inning.
95-mile-per-hour fastball up around the belt, and Betancourt swings right through it. High fastball, tough to handle.
So Hoover strikes out the first batter face. Now Aoki will hit. Reds lead by a run. You've got the hammer out there, and the rolled is Chapman, who will have the ninth. And Aoki pops it up right up the pipe, and that will be handled by Hannigan, and the inning is over as Hoover gets two quick ones. Barra and Hoover combined for a scoreless eighth, and we are going to the ninth with the Brewers down a run. Well, this one coming down to the end. It's a good ball game. The Brewers find themselves trailing by a run. All dressed up like the famous racing sausages, enjoying their time here at Miller Park. Sometimes you got to just get lost in the moment. And those ladies have done it. And see you later. So to the ninth we go. John Axford on the mound for the Brewers. He'll have to get through Heisey, Votto, and Phillips. And trying to get the Brewers to the bottom of the ninth, still trailing by just a run.
Well, John Ashford did such good work to get that earned run average to below 4, but he's been roughed up his last 4 appearances. He's allowed runs. And took the loss on Wednesday against the Rangers, a third of an inning. Gave up a run and allowed one of 2 inherited runners to score.
Axford, the filmmaker, got a great passion for the art of filmmaking, and he's talking to me earlier today about a documentary he's got in mind. And I think it's got a good chance.
Anything you can share with us?
I don't want to give it up.
So you can't do that.
But you'll like it.
I mean, what is that?
I think you're really going to like it. Kind of fits into your wheelhouse. Has to do with social media, so he's something he dabbles in, and when his playing days are over, hopefully in a long time, you'll probably see him do a lot more. There's a great play by Sean Halton to the bag in time for the out. That saved a double.
Yeah, use that big frame to stretch out completely down the line and able to grab it. And Halton used every bit of that 6-foot-plus frame to trap that one and able to get up and get the out. Heisey looking for his third hit of the game, and Halton took it away.
Well, nice play for the first out. Halton just arriving to the big leagues today. Called back up. Alfredo Figueroa sent out as the Brewers bring Gallardo back tomorrow. Here's Votto now, and he swings and breaks his bat. Votto doesn't break many bats, so quite shocking to him when it breaks.
Well, we hadn't seen him swing much in this series. You know, Votto's one of those guys. He gets in that batter's box. I mean, you can get up from your seat and he'll go grab a hot dog, come on back, and he'll still be in that batter's box. Very, very disciplined at the plate. I'm not giving him a hard time. I'm just saying. I mean, he is a tough out. It's a grind to try to get this guy out.
One of the few sluggers that chokes up a little on the bat. Two balls and a strike. As far as plate discipline goes, I don't know anybody who's better than Joey Votto. He knows his strike zone.
He chokes up, and even with 2 strikes, he'll choke up even more.
Big swing and a miss on a fastball, and it's 2-2.
He's upset with himself. He swung at a pitch out of the strike zone, something you don't see him do very much.
The former MVP has walked twice tonight. 2-2 to Votto, and he fouls that one away. Looking ahead to the Brewers' 9th inning. Segura, Lucroy, and Ramirez. And the big lefty, Aroldis Chapman, is getting ready in the bullpen. Got the save last night, his 30th.
Another full count to Joey Votto. It's kind of been, you know, just about every at bat.
Votto is 0 for 2, but 2 walks and a run scored. The league leader in on-base percentage. Now Axford's got to come in there. And a 3-2 is fouled away. Do it again. Another payoff pitch from Axford, and a foul tip in and out of the glove of Lucroy. Just when you thought you got him struck out, right off the heel of the glove.
Yeah, not much you can do about that.
Back to the Heat. And Votto sends one slicing foul. Pitch number 10 against Joey Votto. 1 out in the 9th. And a bouncer to Halton. Much easier play this time around. And after a long battle, John Axford finally wins. And Votto is retired.
Now you're telling me you couldn't have left your seat, got a hot dog, and then gotten back to watch that ground ball?
You could have. I should have.
That'd be good right now. Now Brandon Phillips is just the opposite. He can be a quick at bat.
Right.
He doesn't mind swinging a pitch out of the zone a little bit.
And he takes one for a strike. But I see what you mean. I think the same thing about him. Sometimes I feel like he gets bored. He appreciates it, but he gets bored.
5 at bats, he sees 8, 9 pitches every time. That's a big day at the office.
That was a called strike. Phillips unable to check his swing. Votto, after the out, alone with his thoughts. The big curveball by Axford. And Phillips unable to check his swing. It was close. So the 0-2 and a bouncer foul. I'd like to see Brandon Phillips and Adrian Beltre on the field at the same time. The Rangers third baseman. He's another guy that hams it up all the time. And a base hit to right. Boy, that was a pretty impressive piece of hitting there by Brandon Phillips.
Yes, it was. Fastball a little bit too good with 2 strikes. 0-2. Axford gives him the fastball down. He just flips it into right field. It's not that easy.
It's like a tennis backhand, a little drop shot over the net.
And one-handed, just trying to make contact. A good follow through and a line drive into right.
And that is a 2-out, 2-strike hit, which will bring Jay Bruce to the plate. He was 0 for 3 with a walk tonight. A little tapper. Axford's got to hurry it up. Throw to first. He is just in time to get him. A scoreless ninth for Axford. And now the Brewers are coming up with Aroldis Chapman coming out. Great play by Sean Halton setting up that inning. Check in with Craig and Augie when we continue.
Trailing once again by a run. Same scenario as last night. Aroldis Chapman set to take the mound now for the Cincinnati Reds. Got his 30th save yesterday, Augie. He's not untouchable, that's for sure. Any advantage now with basically the same top of the order set to face him tonight.
Well, anytime you can see a pitcher back-to-back, it's always good. But we're talking about a guy who throws the ball 100, 101. So I'll tell you what, they're the same adjustments as last night. You got to be ready to swing the bat.
And he got Lucroy and Ramirez, the final 2 batters last night on strikeouts, clocked at 101 miles an hour. So Chapman on, trying for a save. Cincinnati leads by a run. Brewers Live postgame on the way. We'll have full details of this one and hear from the clubhouse when we come back, Brian.
All right, Craig, thanks. Over 33,000 on hand tonight to see this one come down to the end, the bottom of the ninth. Aroldis Chapman, 30 saves this year, and Chapman will face Segura to lead off, followed by Lucroy, then Ramirez. You got three right-handed hitters coming up, and the Brewers down a run.
And last night, Aroldis Chapman gave up a base hit to lead off the ninth, but that was Nori Aoki with the base hit. Left-hander got one up the middle. Brewers not able to score.
Segura with 2 hits tonight. He drove in a run, the tying run in the 6th inning. Todd Frazier broke the tie with an RBI single with 2 outs in the 7th. Frazier has 4 RBIs tonight, 2 singles, which both came with 2 outs to drive in 3 runs total, and then he had the home run in the 4th. Brewers trying to prevent the Reds from winning their 6th consecutive game. If Cincinnati hangs on to win this game, they will leapfrog the Cardinals and move back into 2nd place in the division. 2.5 back of the Pirates, who won earlier tonight. They beat the Diamondbacks 6-2. Segura ahead in the count. And he takes a strike.
Chapman, one of those guys that when he gets in trouble, normally walks are involved. 21 walks in his 49 in the 3rd innings. He has given up the 6 home runs. So how about a bloop and a blast, and we go home happy tonight.
3-1 the count now. You see that fastball at 97. That's the get over velocity, just the cruising speed of Chapman. He hit 101 last night.
Which is still better than most.
Yeah, I mean, no question. 3-1, and that's in there for a strike. Close one. Segura now in a full count. And Segura stays alive. Leadoff batter in the 9th. Brewers down a run. Been a back and forth game. The Brewers had a lead earlier after a 3-run 3rd inning. And Segura chopper. Kozar gloves it, throws it, and it is not in time. The ball popped out on Votto's mitt. Segura is aboard.
Man, would have been out had Votto been able to hold on to it. Man, that might be an error on Votto. It looked like the ball and the glove got hit about the same time in the dirt. And here it is, a good play by the shortstop Kozar, but it did bounce just a little bit. And it could be a hit. They might give him an error. Good throw gets him.
A play that is a tough play for Kozar because of the speed of Segura. So he is aboard, and that'll be an infield hit for Segura, his 3rd hit of the game. And a base stealer is aboard for Lucroy. Segura is 1 stolen base away from the National League lead. Everett Cabrera, who was suspended for the rest of the season, is the leader right now. Segura stole 3rd base in the 6th inning.
And Aoki stole 2nd base on Chapman last night. It takes a while to unwind and get rid of the baseball, but you got to make sure he goes to home plate.
Ramirez waits on deck.
Well, you know you're not going to bunt with your number 3 hitter. That's for sure. Gonna let Lucroy swing away. Chapman more of a fly ball pitcher than ground balls.
Lucroy fouls it off. 1 ball, 2 strikes now on the Brewer catcher. Lucroy is Milwaukee's best run producer. 61 runs batted in. They get 62 after his RBI single in the 3rd. It tied the game. Lucroy has a career high 4 RBIs. Segura ready to run. The 1-2 pitch, and Lucroy hangs in there on a 99-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah, able to get a piece of that high fastball. Really concentrating on getting the hands up, and not many guys are going to make contact from that pitch. And Segura really not able to get a read, or he'd have been gone by now. High fastball, and Lucroy able to stay alive.
Lucroy with 2 hits tonight, 2 for 4. Reds have won 5 in a row, trying to leapfrog the Cardinals with a victory. Brewers hoping for a comeback tonight, and another check on Segura. Chapman saved number 30 last night. Hannigan wants the heat. And the 1-2, and Lucroy fouls it back.
And getting some pretty good cuts. It's been none of his fastballs from Chapman in this inning. He's got that put away slider that he hasn't used yet.
Pitching for the 5th time in the last 6 days.
18 pitches last night to get through the 9th.
Ready to go. The 1-2. And Lucroy spoils another one. Hanging in there.
And Luke a little bit frustrated. He's had some pretty good pitches ahead, but and with that velocity, boy, you really have to get on top, and he's just been underneath a bit.
Hasn't hit 100 yet. 99. His best fastball. Last night, Chapman hit 101. We'll do it again. Lucroy launches. This is way back. And the Brewers have won. Jonathan Lucroy with a walk-off homer. Career walk-off home run. Jonathan Lucroy with a 2-run shot. And the Brewers win it 7-6 in the bottom of the 9th.
What an at-bat by Lucroy. Fouling off fastballs up in the strike zone. Chapman gave him the slider. He hung it, and Lucroy knocked it out of here in the 2nd deck. Boy, what a game. What a win for Milwaukee.
Snaps the Reds' winning streak at 5. And Lucroy, who is having a great year at the plate, comes up with a big moment in front of the home crowd. We send it down to Sophia just as I said that, Lucroy got drenched with the bucket.
All right, Luke. Well, drenched in water, but I think you'll take it after that walk-off home run against Aroldis Chapman, no less. Take me through that at-bat.
Yeah, I was just trying to, hang in there. I don't have very good success against them in the past, but trying to hang in there and put the ball put the bat on the ball. And he hung me a slider, and I was able to get the wood on it, so it worked out.
This was a grinder from start to finish. What does this say about the resiliency of this team to pull this off in the bottom of the ninth?
I mean, it felt good. I don't think we pitched as good as we could have today, but we just kept battling the play, kept hitting, and it worked out for us. So hopefully we can get going tomorrow.
How about the birthday boy, Martin Maldonado, with that ice shower? We've done a pie, the ice shower. What do you prefer?
I'd rather ice shower. The pie stings too much.
All right. Jonathan Lucroy wins it here. Brewers win this one 7-6.
All right, Sophia, thanks, and congratulations to Jonathan Lucroy. And what Sophia's referencing, check this out. Just as we were about to throw it down to her, he gets drenched. Yeah.
Sophia able to duck the whole situation. That was a smart move on her part. Boy, Lucroy, I tell you, that was one of the better at-bats that we've seen against Aroldis Chapman. I mean, continued to fight off high fastballs. He looked like he was getting frustrated in that at-bat because he was trying to, center on that fastball, kept throwing one after the other, and then on an 0-2 count, Chapman throws the slider, he hangs it, didn't do much, and Lucroy knocked that one out of here. And what a nice win from Milwaukee, and snatching one back from the Cincinnati Reds tonight.
Makes a winner out of John Axford, and Aroldis Chapman gives it up the 4th time this year that he has given up a walk-off home run. We check in with Craig. It's time for Brewers Live.
I'll tell you what, that's a pretty good post game in itself right there. We may have to re-rack that whole thing. We're also going to hear from Ron Renicky, get inside the Brewer clubhouse. Nice win by Milwaukee here tonight. Brewers Live is on the way. Stay with us on Fox Sports Wisconsin.